You are early. That's what I will say. Oh, damn. It's the Fridays. But nonetheless, how are you? How was your day? All the questions. And mainly because it's Friday. How was your week? Well, at least. At least you're fine. I don't know anything, as always. That's always my stuff. I hope the sound is pretty good on your side. Had some issues earlier, just before I start, as always. Everything crashed. Had to reinstall some stuff. Well, I hope it's good for the long run. Can you please work? Sorry, have some issues, as always. Damn. Yeah, what did you do this week? Full on work, I believe. Did you have some specific things happen, not happen, should have happened, didn't happen? All of that. Yeah, well, sometimes that happens. I feel like I'm forgetting something, as always, and I don't know what it is. How often are you usually reading books? I mean, are you usually reading books? Because you might be like me and not reading anything because it doesn't work for you. But questions stay the same. Oh, so you read more than me. Yeah, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of designers are trying to read books, but the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm like, reading books is not what you want to do. Like, it doesn't work. KDJ, hi. Welcome on in. It's still broken. Damn. Well, no, it's fixed. Sorry. A bit of hyped. Yes. I have no goals. That way I don't have disappointment at the end of the year or at the end of the month or anything. But yeah, I have a weird, I mean, we talked about it before, but I have a weird thing with physical books. I can't, thank you, I can't read physical things. It's extremely weird. And lately I have more issues reading digital as well, so that's annoying. Fruitus and Aiden, hi, welcome on in. How are you? How was your week? How well week? Damn. I am in shamble, I have to say. At 6, so in my side it's 6:38 right now. At 6:12. Yeah, 6:12. My computer said there is an update to do. So I said I have time. Did the update. Restarted. Everything fine. And then the audio kept cutting. Like, let's say I'm speaking. You have something that is this for the old that you're listening to music or things like that, which is annoying. And so that was that was what happened during the beginning of everything. So I said there is an issue. So I tried to fix it by uninstalling the drivers for the sound, and didn't work. Restarted. Did a clean install of every driver that was installed in the update from Windows, and then restarted again. Then I didn't work either. Tried another set of drivers from the NVIDIA website, and that's when I typed on the Discord and said, "Yeah, we might be late." We might be a bit late, and yeah. That was annoying. But nonetheless, I need to spam the Discords. Otherwise, 50 cents a piece. That's neat. That means I make 25 cents per node, and I have 6, so that means I make $1.50 every day. It's pretty good. Not great. Not great at all. Sorry for the delay. I'm like spamming the usual thing, making sure that everyone and their mom is aware that we're live, even though today is not the most designer-friendly way or day. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, what we do, what we can do, because I haven't done Acebar since the PC crashed, so maybe it will work, maybe it won't. I'll have no clue. Someone fried me up. You want a fry? Can give you some fry. Oh. Aiden, I had some, before we start everything, like different discussion about the ethics of designers, or designer ethics, depending on where you stand. I have something to show you. I'm still a fucking fry bucket. And as I'm saying that, it disappeared. Good. So there is, or there was, something extremely similar to Ring that, like, that is called Jade Protocol. They were very much targeted at the same thing for a long time, and so I wanted to show you what happened to them as well, because they had, or they have, a very, very similar pattern right here, which is going down and down and down. And at some point, for some reason, we don't really know, we went from 16 for 1, so we still stayed way higher than the Ring one, but we had a fucking spike that like tripled from 16 to 66, like, yeah, almost 5 times something, and then it restabilized higher at 30 something. And so I'm thinking, as always, because all of the other projects that have the same behavior or same utility, that's in that way, the same utility have the same kind of behavior in the beginning. And then, so this is Jade. Jade was started in November 20 something, November 22nd, and so it's been like nothing in terms of time. The Ring has been started in November 22nd, I think, as well. Same thing. So, as well, we don't really know, but it's fucking flat. And then the other things that look similar, like Home, which I think I need to go to V1. Same, like, start with a crash and then starting back up and then crashing again and then switch to V2. Kane, hi, welcome on in. Yes, I forgot the reading list today. I didn't find anything very interesting in the in my mailing list this morning, so I was like, nah, you know what, they haven't enough so far, so yeah, nothing for today. Maybe something tomorrow, but yeah. And then the usual thing, Strong, which started like in middle of 2021. Same thing, bit of spike in the beginning, crash, and then stable for a long time. Everyone thought it was like a Ponzi, or it would never go back up. And then we went back up, and right now we are fucking high. 700 for 1. And this one, I mean, this project Strong, it is giving me 4K per month. Almost, a bit less. So it's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's kind of high to enter right now. So yeah, you should have entered at 400 for 1. Or before, but I didn't know the project before that. So yeah, I still hope, potentially, maybe, Ring is going back up. I have no clue. I have no clue at all. So we need to do that. Go here. So yeah, Kane, how was your week? That's the question for you. And Frutus, you didn't seem to answer the question as well. Let's see. Good week? Good. It's still the middle of the day for you, right? Ish. Like midday time. Oh, it's 15. Oh, okay. That's sad. What's the issue? Is the issue the frame per scroll? Because I know there are some libs library that can help you with that. So maybe take a look with SK. He might be able to help you because I think he did some interaction like this. But yeah, do you think you can, Aiden? Do you have the skills? Because don't be fooled. You might enjoy being a bartender more than a developer. Oh, so bartender means something different here. Maybe. Like for me, a bartender is someone behind the bar that's make you drinks. That doesn't really walk, but make small talk, yes. But if you can do that on the weekend, except sometimes they walk, yeah. Yeah, the bars where I go, it's you order at the bar and that's all. You don't do more than that. They do your drink and then you take the drink and you go to your table. Most likely. Sometimes, very rarely, they bring you your glass to the table, but that's trying to remember when I used to go to bars. It's different because I stayed at the bar. I mean, the bar was my table most of the time. So yeah. But yeah, bartender is a great job. If you are looking for, like, how can I say that? I mean, a lot of bartenders that I know that used to be kind of successful in terms of clientele, they made banks in the time that I knew them. Like, the amount of tips that they received per night and the amount of overall thing, like you can make banks being a bartender, and you just have to understand that your living schedule is different. So that's something to know. Like, you mostly leave at night if you're a cocktail bar, drinking bar thing. If you're like a day bartender, then yeah, you can do that differently. Or you can always write some bullshit on your CV. Like you don't need to go to do a job to write stuff on your CV that you didn't really do. I mean, it really depends on where you are in your career, I agree, but you can say you've worked for a non-profit for 5 years while you were at school. No one will check. It doesn't, I don't know. I mean, you could write about it. It's an interesting I don't know, it's an interesting idea. It's a very newest generation type of website, I would say. I wouldn't have done it, but different thing. So I tried something with the we talked about it yesterday, and so I tried to edit the fuck command, which now does that. So now we know. Now we know when that happens. So it should work. I am still trying to understand when. So it only works on my side. It doesn't work for you, sadly. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how I could make it work for you as well. And right now, every time I say fuck, it should. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works, so it's a bit weird. I want different images, but your points will always stay the same, Tanya, because these are the stream element points which don't fluctuate unless I say on points, or I think if I do that, yeah. But the points that you have on stream element doesn't give you points. The only useful points that you have are the channel points. So, I mean, you can type give. I think it's give me point. Damn, you broke the thing. You broke the camera for a second. All right. There was no. Oh yeah, give points. There is an S. I forgot the S. Yeah, Aiden, you got the right. You got the right one. But yeah, there are a lot of different commands that you can use. I do want to create one that has like an array of function with the give me points. So like a variable of giving you 1 point, 10 point, 40,000 points, or nope, and just giving you different answer, like a gamble. But I think you can gamble all. Yeah, like this, for example. I don't exactly know how things work. Yeah. I don't know if it will stay the same. It seems to be working fine right here, but maybe you will try to gamble all again and you end up at 0. And we never know. You can try again. If you try again, I'm sure you will probably rank up. I mean, you can always do gamble 2000, which is just 2000. I don't know how it works. I can't be trusted here. I have no clue. Absolutely no clue. So, I do be wanting. I don't know if I have the coin flip. Don't think I do. Yeah, it seems to be positive for everyone right now. So maybe it's the time of day, maybe it's because no one used the command before, and so everything is positive. I'm just waiting for someone to lose everything. For example, KGJ, I'm sorry. If, for example, yes. Yeah. But it was a weird long streak of winning, and not like tiny winnings, like much more high winnings. So I don't really know. And see, I'm ranked 10, but Tanya, you did rank earlier and you were ranked 10 as well. So that's weird. It still means that there is 9 people or 10 people in front of me, which I don't know. Which I don't know who they are. Does that work? Yeah, nah, this one doesn't work. Maybe it's just because I don't know how to type. Nonetheless. Good. See, KTJ, you won. Not a lot, but you won. Didn't lose your 1,000 point earlier. Kinda. But yeah, nonetheless, today's stream officially is like an Ace Bar type of stream, meaning it's kind of a podcast. So if you want to join the voice channel on Discord, I will be there. You will have to do what? Not a lot of things, but you can join. I will need to show myself twice. So if we go there, you will see me twice. That's the sad thing about about this. I just hope that the stream on this side doesn't use the same Yeah, so
Hey,
hello. I don't know
let
if you
me.
can hear me. I think you can. That could
I
go
can.
good. And yeah, the question is, can you speak a teeny tiny bit so I can see where you are going?
Okay. I
Yeah.
think it will be great if Aidan can join us.
Yeah.
We need a face reveal.
We need a face reveal. Khalil, hi. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. I feel like I'm missing thing. On the other side of the stream, what do you hear? Can you hear Kane? Is it fine? Is it not fine? Too high? Too low? Does the music is still audible? The usual things. And yeah, we'll see. You can hear, but too low. All right. All right. The output volume was at 100. Let's put it to 140. Let's see. I don't know. Okay, if you want to speak up, you can.
Hi, Khalil. How are you?
That's a bit better, probably.
You didn't. Yeah. Didn't you stream today?
Yeah, that's true. Did he? Did I even check? Even with your 2040p webcam, you can. You can join if you want to, as always, if you want to. As long as we can hear you and understand you and see you is a plus, but not necessary. Tanya, if you want to join as well. It could be fun. Did I say fuck again? Damn.
A pixel face reveal. Oh, fuck.
Oh, you have some LED lights now.
Yeah. Didn't show that?
I remember the band, but I remember it being white, not blue.
It's RGBs.
Ah, that makes sense. What do you mean you don't know how your mic is? Your mic is fine. Yeah, Aiden, I remember you said you had a pretty good mic. Mainly I remember the video from YouTube that you made. So if that's the same mic, it's good. It'll be good. But yeah, same. If you don't want to show your face, but if you want to join the conversation, that's all on you. I'm happy with it. The main conversation today, even though I should have written it, added it to the stream title, which is designer ethics. How the fuck do you type ethics? ETH?
Ethics. I think.
Yeah, ethics.
It is.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey.
We have Khalil in here. Hi, welcome. How are you? I mean, you're muted, but
Aiden, Nino. It's okay.
I don't know.
What time is it in Canada?
Canada right now, 4 CK, it's like 1 in the afternoon. We have Tanya in here. Hi.
Hi, Tanya.
I can't hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Your mic is really good.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Always try to fix or activate A's bar, so how can I not choose to be here now? Right.
Yeah, that's.
But I actually am not on the best of days to be here, so expect me to be more lurky than twerky.
Yeah. Well.
You've been working too hard.
No, it's not the work. Fuck work. Work is awesome. I love work. It's just that the sleep is not coming, and that's a little bit shitty.
Yeah.
But the work is okay. Just give me more work, please.
More work? Not more work.
Yes,
More work?
please, give me more work and more hours in a day.
I mean, if you do more hours, then you sleep.
You're
You might
streaming
fall
live.
asleep better. I don't know.
Let me fix that camera shit because my face is just too funny to not show the world.
Yeah, I mean, we can see you all day usually.
That's
Is it-
true. but-
Is it why you didn't stream today? Because a bit sick and a bit no sleep?
No, Fridays is my off day stream.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
sorry.
myself, so I know that I need to take a digital day off. And honestly, Kane, he's like for me the perfect dude to like police me. He's like every day sending me messages off stream, and I appreciate that very deeply. Like, whoa, dude, even if you can't sleep, take rest. So I listen to Kane.
Good.
A is my teacher, Kane is my police, Aiden is my motivator. I find roles in everybody, whether they like it or not.
Perfect. Yeah. I think, by the way, I think that you would have some interesting takes on designer ethics, or in ethics in general, as in job ethics and how people perceive ethics in their job and what does it mean, how it should be implemented in one's life. I think you might be a good fit for this. I think it's Melly who asked for it. Trying to see if they are available. It would be neat. Yeah, Melicitos, who is from your stream, I believe. Gail. So,
Yeah, I think Meli is. I met her in a stream, and I can't even keep count anymore who comes from which stream. As I see it, everybody is from each other's stream because we are all just at some point destined to connect with each other.
I think that's great.
Right? So that's the awesome thing.
I can see Seke in the chat. Welcome on in. How are you?
I-
How was your
oh,
week?
EG, you got your travel connections done.
Yeah.
Awesome, fratello. Tutto a posto.
He was in the therapy.
He got his travel shit done. He was so stressed about it. I'm so happy for him.
Sounds double? What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, yeah. That's usually because of my fucking mic. Like,
I can hear a little bit of echo.
yeah, but like, I mean, this mic is picking up everything. So because I don't have headphones, I should have headphones, but I don't. I don't like to wear headphones, but I might have to. I'm looking around to find my plug, but I can't find it. Damn.
It's looking good for me. I hear no echo.
Yeah, I think on Discord it's fine, but
Oh,
then
yeah.
on stream you have a teeny tiny bit of echo because of this shit. Which is okay if you want to join as well. I know you are working ish. It's the afternoon for you, so you're kind of not working. But if you want to join, the topic today is designer ethics and how to be an ethical designer. So if you want to join and chat with us, that would be neat. I'm thinking. Let me see. I'm looking for the cable. Maybe I come back with my headphones.
Okay, I think I fixed my mic shit, and as usual, I'm such a stupid noob. Or, let me rephrase that, uneducated noob.
You sound great.
Let's be kind to ourselves.
You sound a little bit
There
tired.
we go. The real model just jumped off the desk.
Will you join us, BG?
Oh shit, you didn't see the real model. Okay. Shit.
Which model?
Yeah, Floki was on the desk and then he jumped off. But
Ah,
he's gonna for sure jump off the desk again. Shit, he's the real star. Is the camera okay now? Should have fixed it.
Well, I don't know where it is. And thank you, Seki, by the way.
Oh, by the way, thanks for the post game. I'm really
Nice.
with the chisel on my. Wait, I had one, but yeah, I'm using my camera, my phone as the camera. Damn. But what was it again? The one that rhymed to say like I'm fine. Alakante, kalamalakante. Something with that. With those sounds. Like I'm fine. So for anybody else, he sent me like I love languages. He knows that, and he sent me like a post that has created a carousel on IG with a lot of expressions in Argentinian Spanish, but it's more like the speaking language than it is the official language. So literally, it means most of the time something different than we would suppose to think. And there were some very interesting expressions.
Yeah.
Which
Tranca
one is the
palanca.
one like I am fine? That one stuck with me immediately. Now I got.
Tranca palanca.
Which one?
Tranca palanca.
Tranca palanca. Muchas gracias, hermano. This one was the best one. Esta es el último. Shit, tranca palanca.
It's like, take it easy, man. Tranca palanca.
I'm fine. You're fine. Everybody's fine. Take it easy. By the way, nice to meet you, Tanya.
Same here.
Nice to put a face to the voice.
Yeah. I was excited about this. I have no idea what's gonna happen, what is happening right now, but I'm just excited.
Nothing happened. That's the thing. We should just
It's gonna
have a
become
chat.
very exciting.
Yeah, that's the goal is that.
11:45 p.m. here for me, but tomorrow's a Saturday, so
Where are you from?
India.
Oh, cool.
Where in India?
Well, Lucknow, UP, North India.
No.
India. Okay.
Yeah. Have you been to India?
Yeah, 8 hours difference.
Never.
8 hours.
You,
Kablimo.
A bit far away. But yeah.
It's time for you to move to Japan.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting.
Shit, I hope for Ace happiness he can move to Japan as fast as possible, because that's when he will be complete and wholesome. You'll see. If you think his stream is already good now, wait till he's to Japan. And energy is gonna be there.
I think it will be similarly different in a way of probably just more chill and less anxiety on my face from time to time, because like sometimes I have good news and then I'm like, yeah, it's fine, and then the next day I have like bad news. So I'm like, fuck it, I need to stay here. So yeah. And the camera came.
It's funny how you said it though, similarly different.
Yeah, I mean,
Typical A.
I had like something today. I need to. It will be on stream, not on Discord. I mean, I can show you on Discord at the same time, but it's a bit weird. So there is the restriction of entry for Japan. There has been an update on the 12th, January 12th, and the update is they changed the date here.
But it's from the French side, as I read it, right? Or is
Yeah,
it
it's the French side.
Okay.
But that's the only thing. Like nothing else changed, and they're like, yeah, there is an update. No, there is not. That's just a French version of.
Because I can't read it.
I hate it.
we should summon pot too.
KGJ, if you want to join as well, you can. I can see you in chat. It's always difficult to read chat and keep the conversation at the same time, so I'll do my best as always.
BG.
But yes, I can
Join.
come in.
Please.
Yes, it's like the French version of the embassy website is telling me you can't come, you can't cross the border, It's not an option, and it's like, all right. And then the English version of the website is saying you might be able to come if you apply for this specific visa. And then the Japanese website is saying you can't really come, but you might be able to, but we can't really assure you that you can. And then the Japanese outline on the phone says, yeah, they can come. There is no issue. They can cross the border with no problem. And it's like every different things that I get is you can, but you can't, but you can, but maybe you can't. But if you have this, you can't. But if you have this, you can. But it's the same thing, so it's weird. It's just a headache over headache over headache, and it's been like this for 2 years. So yeah, annoying.
I had this like interesting but crazy conversation about it today. And to keep a long story short, this whole pandemic is creating, in one way, a lot of dividation, in another way, a lot of unnecessary complexity. But most importantly, it's standing a lot of people in the way of their happiness just. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner maybe a lot of people are going to make the sacrifice necessary to do the same things, even if it's not aligned what they think, so we all can start growing again to our happiness, because sometimes we just cannot always realize it behind from our desks or any else motivation besides doing the same. And that's how you see that we are always still connected as human beings, whether we like it or not. Blah, 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 blah. You get it.
We agree. I think the pandemic is a great, let me, mark my word. I think the pandemic is great in different ways. I think it is great in the way of a lot of people realize that what they used to do, as you just said, what they used to do is not what they wanted to do, and the new life they discovered at home, working from home, being obligated to do so, they figured out, so I can do my job from different places. And some of them decided to travel instead of staying home, but still in the same country. So because they realized that I can just take my computer everywhere. Or if I'm an HR manager, I just need this, and that's all I need. I don't need a lot of different things. So I can just take my phone with me and then go live in Thailand for 3 months and come back later, and no one knows, because of the magnificent 3D, not 3D, but background replacement things. It's, I don't know, I think it's interesting, but and then there is the negative side as well, where in my situation I'm stuck, I can't do anything, people are dying. I don't really care sometimes, but sometimes I care. But yeah, it's a difficult thing. For example, on my side, I have, not to count the deads, but I have 13 people who died from COVID and everything. So in France, I'm one of the most impacted in my team, for example, because they don't know anyone who had either one dead from their circle. But because my circle is not just Paris, it's way broader, because of the stream and the people that I met online. I have people in the US, people in India, people in Japan, people in China, and they are dead everywhere, and I'm not the greatest news, but some good news on the other side. So you need to counter. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, but I actually really admire that you say it, and I think it's also important to say it because it's also acknowledging something very important. Because I can really relate, in the breakdance scene, the world is small on a competitive level. Whether it's Americans and Russians from one side to the other and everything in between, we all know each other. And honestly, my best friends aren't friends; they are brothers and sisters. And I lost 3 of them in the past 2 years, and it has been very hard. Not necessarily completely to lose them, even though there was no explicable reason for it because they were young, nothing wrong, but not to be able to say goodbye. When 2 years ago there was a competition, it was like a split second, bags packed, we go there, 2 days later, competition, after party, chill with each other, talk with each other, socialize, all of that is gone. And at the moment when you have to say goodbye from each other and you can't, it's really hard. However, on a positive note, PG, benvenuti. ¿Cómo estás?
Hey folks.
You
Yeah,
got
so
here.
jumped in the middle of something.
You got here and you got in Canada in time.
I know. So lucky. Yeah, feeling good. I'm feeling.
Luck comes to the people that
so
deserve
relieved.
it.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a potato, a party potato.
I still believe the real potato is gonna be A.
Yes. It's the potato master.
Potato mass.
Are you at your friends' place? Still?
Hannah's brother's place. MP's brother's place. Yes.
Yeah. Until tomorrow?
Sunday. But we're actually, I have to go pick up the keys in like 20 minutes. So I will hook on Trump potato. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, I had the 15 in mind, and then in Shannon's stream earlier, we talked about it. We asked you, but then you went away. So
Yes. I jumped off. So it's the 16th. Actually.
16th, good.
Yeah,
So
everything like all the dates are jumping around, but now it's finalized to Sunday.
That's good. The question we had for you was, when do you think you will be streaming again?
He doesn't have
Wednesday.
a choice. He can't choose.
Wednesday is going to be,
Sunday.
yeah. I want to stream Sunday, but there's no way I'm going to be able, because we're moving on Sunday, right? So like 9 to 12, we're going to move, and then 12 to 5.
Your smartphone, dude.
I don't, can you do that?
Yeah, you can. The app for Twitch on your smartphone is pretty good, to be honest.
Is it just like the regular Twitch app, or is there a separate streaming app?
I think it's just the regular Twitch app. You can just go from, let me check. But it's pretty good. If you have like a selfie stick or shit like this, it's so easy because you can just point it like a vlogger, and it's live. The only thing that you need is a power bank because, the battery will just die instantly.
Oh yeah.
But
just in between, chat, just know, if you need Figma information, you ask A or PG. If you need stream information, you ask A. If you need Webflow or Notion information, you ask PG. And if you want just information in general, turn to each other.
yeah.
All right.
There you go. And if you want beautiful cat, tune into Khalil's stream, because
We all
Lucky is my favorite.
Most of us.
Oh, true. But man, every time I see your cat, I die a little bit. It's just,
Yeah, same with your cat. As I said, we can change for a day or a week.
Yeah, we can do a little trade.
I need one of those cap, PG.
No, you have a beautiful dog, Hannah the dog. Has anybody seen Kane's dog, Hannah? I saw her. She is beautiful.
Not yet.
I think
And
she's
Kane is gonna start streaming soon too. I'm really waiting for that moment.
We need a doggy cam.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
she's a
I
beautiful
mean-
dog, man. I love also how all of us, or the people that have like animals, how we are adopt, don't shop. Like, it's no, oh, there she is. Look.
Hi, Hannah.
She's so beautiful.
I would feed Floki to her just to get Hannah here. Right?
She doesn't look like she'd be Floki. She looks too sweet. She's so like gentle.
She's not.
Yeah, she's very gentle.
She's not.
No, I mean like she's very gentle.
She's sleeping right now. There's Lucky.
Oh,
God.
where's Opal? I need to get Opal back so I can put her on, and all our white pets can say hi to each other.
Hey, why don't you have any animals?
Because I live in a 21 square meter flat and I don't want to give them that.
It is mono ambient. How do you say that?
I love how A, again, it's becoming like a consistency that A has a very exclusive shirt on a Friday. Even though he doesn't probably do it for that reason, it is
I do.
a consistency or becoming one.
I do. I used to. Like, the thing is, I used to have and wear shirts all the time, but like shirts and bow ties and dress pants,
Damn.
like different
A
things.
with a bow tie.
I still have them.
Yeah, where's the boat?
Both.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
mean,
seen
just let's introduce Samuel who joined the chat. But yeah, in the meantime, I will go fetch one to show you the collection because I have also a collection of bow ties similar to the collection of glasses.
Bow tie redeem coming soon.
Oh, I feel that one coming. The bow tie redeem.
I love it.
PG, you are now a influencer of Memorizely.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe.
I just saw it
Trying to
yesterday.
be.
How
Yeah,
does it feel?
it's pretty cool.
Hey.
It's nice.
I think it's awesome that Memorizely saw your value, man. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I'm glad.
True to the
I'm
truth.
happy. I mean, you know, it just feels good, honestly. Like I feel I owe so much to like Memorizely and Xander and the community, like for being where I am today. Like it genuinely, like the turning point for me was like taking that boot camp and like getting involved and talking to all these people, making friends, like connections, you know, doing projects. Like one of my first full like UX projects was with Jeff, who's another community member. And we just decided to do a UX challenge together, and that like ended up on my portfolio and got me like my first like full product designer job. So like, it feels good to be able to give back and like contribute back to, you know,
It's
that
really nice to
community.
hear you say that, but never forget one thing though. It always started with you wanting it. And if you didn't want it, then you couldn't have gotten help or whatever you just said. You still achieved it by own effort and energy, right? Never
Mhm.
forget that, bro.
Absolutely.
Plain
Yeah.
and simple. And you could have also chosen to like be grateful for what you had without giving back. So hey,
Fair enough.
it's cool to see you more on IG with the stuff that we know
my
you're
face.
good at and you shine. And really, I like it how you stay yourself, man. I think it could be very easy to like take over somebody's style or characteristic, but you're just staying yourself. And that's cool because that's going to work so hard for you, man. So it's cool.
Just gotta be me. Yeah, it's true. It's always better to be authentic,
Absolutely,
anyways.
absolutely.
I mean, same with you guys, right? Like streaming, it's the same thing. Like it's really easy to try and put on like, I don't know, you know, there's the idea of the influencer, the streamer, the YouTuber, and like a lot of people kind of fall into that trap of like trying to be that. But, you know, I can say like all the streamers I know in this community, like you guys and everything, feel like we're all pretty authentic, pretty ourselves. And that's really refreshing to like see.
I think we all start on streaming at least, and we all start with the feeling that we need to be a bit more enthusiast than what we are in the beginning, at least, like being a bit louder and a bit more not friendly, but like laughing and screaming and
Like
doing
extroverted
something a
almost.
bit more than the usual to attract
Yeah.
people. But then at some point, you understand that you are faking something that is not you, and people can see that. And when you realize
Yes.
that, people see that, oh, they are not like this usually, so it makes sense to follow them for what they are and not what they pretend to be. And I do believe it's better, but
Yeah.
I
Also,
do
it's
agree with you
exhausting.
guys, but I do believe that for me it just works like a little bit in a contradiction. Like I love the streaming thing from the very first 2 times I did it, and it might sound strange, but I already feel like it's gonna be a fixed part in my life. But on the other hand, I do feel for me it works differently in the sense that I am going to learn a very important lesson there, a good one as well, which is like to learn to be less extroverted, right? And also to learn to listen to people. And that's a good thing to say for me, because it's just me being aware of myself and understanding like sometimes it's lessons we need to learn and everybody has their individual lessons to learn, right? So, yeah. But being your authentic self, absolutely.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you can't change or learn from it. I mean, I think there's lots that you can learn from streaming. Like you said, like listening, I think that's a big one, right? Like a lot of streaming is actually like taking in maybe like what chat is saying or what other people are saying and kind of like contributing back. So yeah, I mean, beyond that, I think it's an interesting learning environment or something that you can do that's like very different from day to day. You're not just like on a call or talking to a person. It's like a very different kind of thing, and you definitely have to learn and adapt to it, but still being authentic to who you are, for sure.
Yeah, like for anybody who is thinking of streaming, by the way, I would like to implement this because I already feel we kind of started on the topic of ethics in design, because for me, streaming is part of design or ethics, because it's all about creative stuff, which is first and foremost. If you haven't done it yet, read the book from Austin Kleon, show your work, and see what you take from it. And then also, don't focus on the numbers. Very important thing. Don't be authentic to be authentic. Be authentic to make it easy for yourself, in the sense of, like, if you have been performing or you have some experience with performing, you easily know that the truth is whatever you vibe out will vibe back, and it becomes an exchange of energy. And then besides that, like, it's just ethically correct. By being yourself, you're automatically going to find your audience, but more importantly, your audience is going to find you. So, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that design always works that way, but that's normal on the other hand. It's only unfortunate when you feel, I think, and I can only say I think because I don't have the experience yet, but I think when it becomes unfortunate when you feel like you have to make too much compromise with stakeholders, product manager or so. And I'm immediately going to admit something here for myself. I think that's probably going to be my hardest work point if I ever achieve to get through the bootcamp in a successful way, to like understand to be an advocate for the user is not the same as to be 200% for the user, because there is still an organization or a company that has an interest in the product first and foremost. So the best case scenario is to reach a 50-50 goal dividation, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect of being a product designer and not a UX designer. Is like, as a product designer, you're not just there for the user, you're also there for the business. And like you said, you kind of have to walk that line between how do I mean, a lot of times what's best for the user does end up being like what's best for the business, because if the user's happy using your product, then they're going to give you more money. But yeah, like ultimately your goal is also to make sure you're profitable. Like nobody's paying you 150K to like not make the company money realistically. Like that's the truth of being a product designer, is you're an investment, I think, and like the company wants to make sure that you're also like a good investment for the business. Obviously, depends the kind of product you're working on, the company you're working on, what their goals and outcomes are. But yeah, ultimately that's a consideration you have to have, and very relevant to the topic today, because where's that line? Like, where's like the ethics? You know, at a certain point, like, do you just treat your users as like numbers to make a profit? You know, that's a very, very tough line to, and I think a lot of companies find themselves towing it a little bit.
Can I ask a question maybe? Like that might be a question for a lot of people, because I feel like we are a lot of beginners here, myself absolutely included. Like you all, Kane, PG, Tanya, A, you have been designing for at least a few years, 5 years and more. Like, well, Tanya, Like I never think of time as a concept that reflects how experienced somebody is. I believe always that
Oh yes.
situations and experiences create much more intensity than time ever will, but time is just a very easy translation of it. And I believe in this chat room and everybody in each other's chat room, we're kind of similar in way of thinking. So I'd like to be like with all of you, kind of an advocate for most people in chat probably. Most people maybe not always in Ace chat or in PG's chat, but at least that I have experience with beginners. People that really are considering, do I want to become a designer and this and that. So in regards of this topic, what are the basics that we really need to think about? My question for you four, and as well people in chat like Nino or Hugo or anybody else who wants to answer, like what are the kind of basics by ethics that you say like, okay, people, this is something you're going to learn in a course, so don't worry about that. You can even forget it because it's going to come up again. But these are our personal takes that they don't teach you in courses, but which we believe will value you as a designer or would contribute to your job or your work, your projects.
I
Are
think that is the difference between design schools and people like Chris Do, who talks about the business of design. I didn't read about those things at my university, and I learned a lot of watching people like Chris Do, Jose Caballer. And there is someone new who I can't remember his name. Um, a lot of Spanish people as well who talks about business models and how to talk and influence on people, or how to win a conversation without losing your mind with a client. Um, those stuff. Uh, Also, this is the kind of dark part of design of business where uh, we can manipulate the language or images or whatever we could design to influence on people's mind, which is a big responsibility for us because it can be very wrong.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
our goal. I mean, it's weirdly our goal and not our goal at the same time. So the influencing of things, depending on where and what the product is, you need to, like, if you are a designer for Amazon, your goal is to be as greedy as possible and make as much money as possible while still making sure that the user that is buying on your platform is buying on your platform, not just browsing on your platform, because otherwise you will die. Not Amazon, but like any e-commerce website will say, our goal is to make a profit, and that's I would say 85-90% of business. Just our goal is to make a profit, and then by using our platform and users in order to make a profit, so clients, everything. And then the UX designer in itself will inevitably need to influence the clients and the users of the platform in order to create like a profit for the company, because in a way you are in the company, you are getting paid by the company, and the company is getting paid by the users. So you need to have the users pay the company for you to get your salary. If you do your best for making sure that the user understand what they can buy for like a discount or not, you will end up cutting your salary, your monthly salary, a teeny tiny bit, because after a certain amount of time you will have like a less like cash flow going in. So as PG said, PG is seke, if no one knows. Seke is the hat. The the line in between, you need to pay for your rent and your food, and you need to pay for your third car, is like, it's blurry, but it's still there. Like, it's just, either you want to have like a luxury type of life, and in which way you are just focusing on the numbers and how do you make the user spend more, or you focus on the benefits of the users using your platform, in which case your salary might be a bit lower than another one. I don't know. Even though I think an Amazon designer is not making enough money because they are a designer and they are not valued, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, it's kind of similar to what I was saying earlier, as you said, but it's so there's like such a blurry line, and also as Kane mentioned, like there's lots of dark patterns that you can employ in like all sorts of places. I mean, we've seen it with Instagram, Facebook recently. There was a big kind of scandal about that, and them like knowingly, affecting people's psychology like negatively, but like to them that's where profit comes from, is if you're like starved for attention, or you're like so you lack self-confidence and you're always constantly on Instagram trying to get something out of it, then they're making more money. And as a designer, like you're really in a really difficult spot, because they're the ones who are paying your salary, and like ultimately that's how the company who's supporting you makes money. And then, yeah, we do need to ask ourselves that question, though. Like, first of all, is this a company that you want to work for? Like, I personally don't think that I would work for Facebook. It's just like, it feels a little, I mean, I guess it depends on what side of the product, but like, yeah, it just feels there's different ways, and there are different products that help people more than they sort of like kind of take advantage of them. And that's not to say that Facebook doesn't help people at all. Like, I talk to my family across the on the other side of the world on Messenger or on WhatsApp. Like, that's actually genuinely providing a service to people and bringing people together. But yeah, there's a blurry line, and like different interests get mixed, and there's people who sit in a boardroom and just want to squeeze every cent out of you. And then there's like a whole organization of designers who are actually interested in just improving people's lives. So trying to put yourself in a position where, that works. I think, yeah, there are products that do it better than others, and products that really love to like employ those dark patterns and just take advantage of people. So it's tough.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to make the difference between hi
Hey.
to make the difference between the good side and the bad side, because as we already said, we need the money to live, basically, or sadly. The thing is, when the companies took a big profit on that to make kind of fake products. I mean, like, look, this phone is comes with a real a new packaging, but the product is still the same, so it's still bad. I don't know how to say it, but the product is bad, and they use design to persuade people to make it look a really product. So they can take a bigger profit of it, which is also a really common speech on designers on freelance, which make your product more valuable with this new design of I don't know, shiny things, vibrant colors, typography, and that product really don't deserve or really don't help people's lives. It's more like a full capitalism product, which the only objective of that is earn more and more money. That's why I think Khalil and I don't like Apple, because of his business model of close ecosystem where I need to buy the phone from one side and the power bank from another, which cost I don't know, a lot of money from another part.
I mean, to
feel
find
like-
the sorry, Tanya, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. All right, okay. So I was I was just saying that I feel it's a lot of subconscious thing that like this is something that I've seen in my product team that a lot of times we are not talking about the users as humans. Like it's not like they're purposely doing it. We're just talking as like customers who are paying. So we came with new feature that hey, the doctors, that's our user group. They must be feeling really sad with this whole COVID. And when we were talking about it, we were like nobody was genuinely thinking about the doctors. It was more like making money because they are feeling sad. So hey, let's add a new feature so they think we are really nice people. So I think we don't think of them as humans, but we think of them as like money machine at times.
You can see that with the way we talk about them. It's extremely simple. Every time we say clients, user, target, every time we use other words, then I mean, even users can kind of work, but like humans is the word that we should use, or people that are using our product instead of saying users of our product or clients of our product. And that's also to answer like Kane questioning about the how to find the definition of the companies doing it for the money or for the users. It's like you need to look at the motives of the company, which is very simple. If your CEO is always telling you, yes, we made 6K more this quarter compared to the previous one, they are money driven. If they say we gained 10,000 new clients, then it can be both. As in, yes, we had like a bigger audience, but we also have more money. But if you frame it with the users, the humans that use the product in mind, then it's a bit more friendly-ish, but still, like I would say the best framing would be we changed the life of X amount of person in the past month or 2 months. That means that we are trying to make sure that our product is helping people instead of just giving us cash to help people, I would say.
But
But
then
yeah,
I am going to interject as a, I'm sorry, the nuisance here, and I love to be a nuisance as long as it serves a purpose. But before I do that, I would like to translate to my level and anybody else who can be helped with that. Like the biggest message I get out of here is whether you are going to become a designer, UX, UI, or any other job, make sure that you can do it for an organization whose concept or philosophy you can align with or at least see yourself in. That's kind of like the biggest conclusion I got out of here, because otherwise, probably the company's image of going profit and numbers more so than the concept will probably be very soon something that will stick in your own professional eyes. Is that like a kind of very general but correct conclusion to make?
pretty much correct. Pretty much
I know
correct.
it's very general though, but I think it's easier to break it down more generally, because the more specific you go, I guess you also need to be in your job, right? But like the reason why I wanted to become that nuisance is because there is really a reason for it. Like all of what you're saying sounds so logical to me. But then my question is, if we as designers, or me, so if you guys as designers are supposed to be in some part an advocate of the user, of course, in another part being a representative of the company or somebody that just also wants to achieve the company's goals, help them with it, and try to find a balance in it. isn't it then also a duty of the designer to make sure that the moment you catch yourself in the way that you were just all talking, using the word user too much and the word human and person too little, to wake up everybody, beginning with yourself, to understand, hey, this is still why I chose to do this. Feel me?
Yeah.
However, I'm immediately gonna say with it as well, to finish it off, I know it's not going to be simple or easy because there is stakeholders. There is product managers that live by the numbers more so than live by a team spirit, maybe. And that doesn't make it always easy for you to maybe speak up or to live by the goal or purpose you became a designer. But I think it's close enough to ethics to make it part of this conversation, kind of.
I mean, as always, the conversation is framed around ethics of design, but you know the streams and how it goes, so we can go to different routes with no issues. But it is implied in the role of the designer that you are the representative of the person who will use the product, but you are also the representative of the company in the eye of the clients or users or person that use the product. Meaning you need to translate the words and the needs of your entire company into accessible and usable interfaces that people can use and achieve the goals that they want to achieve with your product. So that's translating from the top down, kinda, even though I don't like to do hierarchy. And then you need to do the other thing, being bottom up, meaning the user are giving us some feedback that are pretty good, and we need to give it back to the hierarchy of the company in order for the company to change or take decision on the future of the product that you are making. So as you said, at the instant where you find yourself saying clients or target, the most annoying one is target. When you're talking about target audience instead of users, you know you're doomed. But how can I say that? You need to catch yourself indeed, and you need to make it your number one priority if you can afford it, because that's not sometimes not possible. But if you can, like, mentally and financially afford it, make it your priority to take the feedbacks that you get from the people who are using the software and implement that in priority compared to the marketing and sales team in the company. So it's your job to implement the thing differently based on what the people that use the product are saying to you, compared to the sales team telling you, let's put this button a bit more bright, or the marketing team saying, if we change this, we will have like a 50% retention upgrade or something like this. And like, if you, as I said earlier, if we talk about motives, the motives of the sales team and the marketing team is to get more users inside, and the motives of the designer should be to accommodate the users to the product in order for them to have the best experience possible inside of the software that you are creating. But that's my take. And also I want to welcome Sam to the group, because
Hi.
just arrived.
Yes, welcome.
I'm sorry, I mute my mic because you could hear my bird probably in the background.
No, it's I don't hear them.
Well, you might. I find it interesting the way you see its ethics of what a designer should be.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I think that the designer shouldn't be prescribed the solutions. So I think it's unethical to accept that a marketing team tells you or a sales team tells you the button should be bigger or anything like that. You should be intaking problems and being responsible for the solutions. And
I
taking
agree.
into account the user is definitely important, but I feel like taking in account the user is kind of a side effect of the desired results. So like if your client as a designer, as an external designer, I got my own firm with my girlfriend, so like we have clients and these clients have goals, and if their goals is to increase in any way their revenue, they have to put in front as a priority the client's satisfaction. So like it's a direct side effect. So as a designer, yeah, you should advise to take care of the client all the time, but I believe it's kind of a side effect of really the goal of the client being the results.
Yeah, you have the kind of the best option because you are like your own CEO, and so you can take decision toward the client, and not you don't have like the marketing team and the sales team telling you or giving you ideas or like influencing your ideas on you should go on that route because it will increase our product. You can decide. I mean, I don't know how
Well, some
successful.
clients have like
Yeah,
marketing teams, and those teams will prescribe some solutions, and sometimes it makes sense to at least try to pursue it. That's for sure.
yeah,
But like you always need to like be aware that you're making the decision. Yeah, it's your expertise.
At which level are you within, before, within, after the design process? So just in regards of the whole design, humanizing, dehumanizing, it's not even about those words. It's more so like, where do you look at a user in levels of human levels and in level of just a target audience, if those word choices make sense? Like, where do you look at it purely as numbers because it makes it easier to translate to facts to work with to get a goal accomplished? And where do you still keep them in mind as people with a psychology behind it and feelings and so on and so on? It's not to make some kind of deeper mark, because of course in design there is always the human element, whether it's color and color psychology, whether it's usability, putting your buttons left up or right down or whatever extremes, you know what I mean? But it's really more so like, because we were talking before about numbers, about companies, about designers, differences in visions, but having a duty to fill in to both sides. So I think, I guess there is where I'm looking more at the ethical part, and where I feel like the question might lay that is the most important, because most of the times people feel like a job that I can do as I want to do it, when it's partially in service of people, should not be a lie, but should be always still possible to work for people while satisfying the company's numbers. Do you feel me? So like, where do you make each other meet without one having to lose on the other, or the other way around? So you can satisfy your own goal of working in service of people while still keeping the company behind you and supporting you in it, because you know you're still accomplishing their goals. Where is the middle ground? Where do you say no and yes to what the stakeholders want, the company wants? Where do you say yes and no to your own wishes and desires to help people, or to what the research results into? I know this is not an easy question, but I think it can be very interesting questions to get answered by designers on different levels of experience, just for people to have an image of, is this maybe a job where I could find a company in which I can do my job as I kind of envisioned it? Because if you go work for marketing, if you go work as a constructor, to take another extreme, if you go work as cleaning personnel or you work at the phone as an enquêteur and taking questionnaires, most of the times it isn't jobs that you're going to enjoy in front of an employer, because there is one thing that all of them have in common. You take that many square meters a day, or you take that many phone calls a day, or you get, feel me? And I feel like with a designer, there might be a way out, or there might just be the job that is the way out. So where do you say yes? Where do you say no? To which side?
Well,
Let's go.
yeah, it's a good question. The thing that you need to remember at all times is a designer is still a human, and if you have the, let me say that differently, but if you have the basis of human decency, and you understand like manners and how things work and all of that, you should personally be able to say, this is not something that I can back. I cannot say yes to this as a human. I understand that your new goal now is not to benefits the people that will use your product, but just benefits you. So I can say no. And so I'm not a freelancer, but when I was a freelancer, I had the ability to say, this project doesn't fit my views and my values, so I can say no. And that's also what I was about to say to Sam earlier. It depends on the success. It's always the same thing. It depends on the success of your freelance business. If you have a very successful freelancing business, you have the power of saying fuck off to the clients because they don't match with what you want to do, what you want to say. But if that's another thing, if you are not successful, you at some point you cannot afford to say no to a client because you need to pay your rent, pay your food, making sure that the car is working, all of that. And so there are times in the beginning of a freelancing career where you need to accept some types of work. So you need personally to do as much research on the clients that you will pursue. But then the client that will come to you on their own, you cannot really say no. You can, but not really. Depends on the monthly monthly salary that you get. But then at some point you can advocate for the user. And so if you are a company, and that's the other side, if you are in a company, you can most likely say no to a client, like in an easier way, but it's the same thing. It depends on the success of the company. If the company is successful, yes, you can say no to a client saying, this is not ethical, this doesn't match with our views or our values, and so you don't do the thing that your client is asking from you. But on the other end, if your company is like kind of dying, but you don't know if you will stay one more year in business or no, you might accept more ethics challenging things and end up doing stuff that you wouldn't have done mainly because you needed to pay like your salary and your employees and everything. So there is like a fine line in deciding when to say no. Sadly, because we are in a mostly society that is capitalistic, we need money to like, how can I say that? Not dictate, but kinda.
Life.
Yeah, I mean, not really, but yeah, like delegate, not delegate. Fuck. The fuck is the word that I'm looking for? I think you get the idea, but like, yeah, let's say dictate. Dictate will work. So you need the money to dictate the thing that you can or can't do. So if you have access to money, you have the ability to do things. If you don't, then you don't. And so that's where you draw the line in the beginning. And then when you achieve a certain amount of success, financial success, the line gets more on the user side. I think that's where I stand personally, where I've been unsuccessful designer in my beginning years, and now that I have more experience and more success, even though I'm still not paid enough, but that's another discussion, I can say yes or no to some stuff. So I don't know if that answers your question fully or not fully.
I feel more than just money as well. This is something that I noticed. This is just my personal experience that when I was starting as a designer, I was not confident about my work and I just didn't understand how the industry worked. And joining an agency, so when you're working at an agency, right, you're not talking to the users at all. So you have your managers and then you have your client. So everything happens where the client says that, this is what we want to do. And we are not really designing for the users, we are designing for the clients. So in the beginning of my career, it was just me agreeing to everything that was being told to me that, hey, you know what, this is what we need to do. And I was like, I don't know if that's right, but sure, I'll do it because I wasn't sure if I was the right person to say something. But eventually I realized that humans are not that bad also. Like, I mean, people are generally nice. So if we tell them that, hey, this is just after I gained some experience and I realized what I'm doing is right. So when I went to the client and I'm like, hey, I know what you suggested, but maybe this is not the right thing to do because this won't really help your users. They listen, they're like, okay, if you're saying with so much confidence and if you think that it is not the right thing to do, I'm not a bad person. Even I want what's good for other humans, so I will do it. So I think with experience comes confidence, and with confidence, you advocate for the users better.
I think that opens a new branch where I want to ask you, what do you think? Designers are designer just moves a few pixels on the screen, or they they deserve a
Already got
chair
half
in
an
the
answer.
on the company decision making?
I feel like moving pixels is like if you have to learn Figma, you sit 1 week, you can learn Figma. My father, if I teach him Figma, he can move pixels. So I think that's not just a designer's job is not to just move pixels. They are supposed to be in the decision making and they need to know what's happening, what the product is about, and they are the users technically because users are not there in the room, so they have to sit for the users. So I feel like they play a very important role on how the product should work.
Another thing that came to my mind when I was hearing, I think, Samuel, um, we were talking about how to measure the impact of design, which is really easy right now with all the technology stuff. But how do you measure the I forgot the word now. The success of the flyer campaign, or a book, or an idea which is printed, and we cannot measure exactly how it impacts on users, or people instead of users.
You kind of can. It's a bit weird, but you kind of can. For a book, for example, it's you have referral links. So let's say you had a link on your website and then someone clicked it and they bought it from there, or so that's something. You also have the ability to do some print advertising somewhere, and then if in the region where you did the advertisement, the book sale is higher than in another region where the advertisement was not present, that means that the success of the advertisement company is higher than, I mean, not higher, but like you can read the success. But yeah, and for a flyer, for example, it's the same thing. It has been distributed in a specific area, and then if the people of this specific area comes to said event, then you know that the flyer kind of worked, because you need to advertise. And so it's always, I mean, the main thing on all design products across all mediums, so print, digital, voice, anything, the only metric that we can like define is the amount of people or users that are in or are using the thing. So buying the book, going to the event, using the platform or the software. So that's the kind of the only metric that you have. And then the second metric that goes hand to hand with the users, sadly, is the profit of the element that you are trying to have. So for the flyer, the profit is the event. So if the event has, let's say, a highest profit than the previous one where the flyer didn't exist, then you can do a correlation and said, well, the flyer helped, so we made more profit. If you have some advertising campaign on Instagram, for example, and then the next month you can see on your digital software that you have more users, then it means that the advertising campaign kind of worked. And so you have more users, meaning most of the time more profit. And so because business right now are made to have a profit, then that's the key metrics of success and how you can track them. It's a bit different from product to product, but yeah, different things.
I'm actually, by
You
the
can
way, very happy that Kane said something about pixel pushers, because this might be a very important and distinct thing to bring up for people, maybe even considering to become a designer, whether it's UX, UI, combination of, if that even actually exists. But like, I honestly at least hope that I made a realistic decision with enrolling in the bootcamp to become a designer, because I would be involved in the process. And therefore, if I am going to be soliciting or going to be recruited, I will have my questions ready for that company. I will have researched the company as much as they have tried to research me, maybe. Probably I would have researched them more, because I'm sitting there because they do not want to research. They just want to be lazy and ask me questions. Anyway, point being is like, if I know I'm going to be a pixel pusher in advance, I say thank you, goodbye, and have fun. I wouldn't want to be a designer just because to become a pixel pusher. I'm not judging anybody or everybody else who does want to become that, but I believe there is purpose and meaning to achieve in being a designer. I really believe in what it stands for, whether it's UX, user experience, UI, user interface. It's all to improve for people, right? And Pixel Pusher is like such a big minimizer of that service. So I'm really happy that you brought it up. Also, because I do believe that there probably do exist companies where you just get to be that and nothing else. But
Yes, a big
are you
company.
then really busy in the segment, in the sector?
Yeah.
That's my question then.
In big company, you have a lot of pixel pushers, and I think we need pixel pushers, and we all need to be pixel pushers in the beginning, at least a tiny bit, because if you don't understand how to push pixel, then your quality as a UI designer, because that's where we stand, most of us right here, is not great, I would say. You might be a good UX designer understanding how everything works in the background, but then the visual side of things, you are, sorry for everyone in the chat right here, but you are a developer designing, and that's not great. When you look at developer designing software, you're like, I can taste the developer behind it, and so it's you kind of need to understand visual in order to understand in order to match with what the user is looking for. And then you need to understand the UX and research and layouts and like psychology of users in order to then create something that is usable. And because you understand the visual part, you create something that is visually usable, visually pleasing and usable. That's the thing. Samuel, you were about to say something earlier.
I was just going to say that for tracking stuff like print, you can also put like different coupons that you can specifically numerically track without necessarily changing your revenue.
Yeah.
That's all.
I completely forgot that it was a stream and I got so comfortable and suddenly A mentioned about the chat and I'm just looking at like, what? So many people watching.
I shared a LinkedIn article of Jose Caballero where he talks about I am not a graphic designer, a wake-up call to designers, which is really interesting. He talks about this topic we are talking about, the pixel pushers. The view of Jose is like the stop being pixel pushers and evolve on a company advisor or something like that.
As I think Skid said that we need to. Someone said, I'm trying to find the comment back. But
Well,
like,
while you do that, let me quickly drop in between. I love it when Kane talks with this rolling R from Argentinian accent. Jose Caballero.
it's the way of pronouncing the name, so I'm happy with it. It's the proper way of saying it.
I want to take my sword and start fighting, man.
But yeah, Skeed said, we designers say that we are users advocate, but most of the time companies want more profit, and that's what we have to shift our focus toward. And so that mix with what we said in the beginning. So if it goes back to the success of your company, if your company is successful enough, they can take the time to pay you to think, and that's the thing that doesn't happen in the beginning stage of a lot of startups and companies, because you cannot I'm sorry about this one, but you cannot waste time in UX in the beginning of a product. And that's something that I've seen plenty of time in an agency, where people are, or like my managers, were mostly saying, well, the project needs to take 2 months. That's all. And the project was like an entire e-commerce web shop with couriers and like a thing that was huge. And they said, yes, we need that in 2 months. And so the reaction was, we need to find the most close competitor and then copy everything they do. And in that case, I became a pixel pusher because I didn't have the time to think about a better UX or a better way of doing things. So I agree with Skeed in the way that when sometimes success of a company is not great and timing is not great either, you end up being forced to do different things than advocating for users. But when you have the ability to do so, then you gain much more like interest in the end user. So for example, what I said earlier, being in a big company like, let's say Google, for example, you have a team of designers that are working in a specific set of 15 icons for 6 months. And it's a team of designers that are pushing pixel on specific icons, designing the things to be as pleasing and as effective as possible for the end user to understand what they mean without having to pair them with a text and things like this. And that's possible only because Google is like, you need what? You need 50K? Take 50K. We don't care. 50K is nothing on. It's like 3 minutes of our profit. So that's how things work. So if you want to be, that goes back to last week's discussion. If you want to be a specialist, then you kind of need to look at bigger companies. And if you want to be involved in more domain of a startup, you need to go into startups, because you will do more, like a greater variety of jobs. A greater range of different jobs and things that you need to do to be successful in different environments. So depending on the success, going back to that, success of the company, that dictates what you can and cannot do, what you can allow yourself to do or not do. That's
Yeah.
one thing.
Don't get me wrong. I think Pixel Pusher it's nice. It's great. If you feel comfortable with that, go ahead. But if you are not comfortable, maybe you should take a little switch in your career and find the way where you find your work attractive, and you can explode yourself and help maybe the same or another company which values all the things you know. Maybe I'm talking in Spanish in my head, but it goes out in English, which is really hard.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. I forget what I was saying.
About
You were
taking
saying that
different
there was
routes.
nothing wrong with pixel pushers, but if you want to become, and that's where
Yeah,
I stop.
maybe you are happy and not really interested on business models or the other stuff. The only need you have now is you want your payment at the start of the final of the month, and see you. But if you are not comfortable with that, maybe you should find another place to work where your leaders or bosses or whatever gives the value you deserve.
I have a doubt. So what exactly, like, how are we describing a pixel pusher? So for me, it's UX designer, there's a UI designer, and then pixel pusher is somebody who's just told what to do, that hey, there needs to
Yeah,
be a button where it's just for. So UI design and pixel pusher are like two different things still, right? We know, because UI designer is not a pixel pusher,
yeah,
because
you're right.
right, because UI designer, because I believe that I'm more of a UX person. I'm not as good as UI. Like, I'm still working on that bit. But UI design also takes a lot of brain, that you cannot go with the wrong with the color. The color has a lot of effect on your final design. The little alignments, the little things matter so much. So pixel pusher and UI is still different, right? Like, just so that I know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, pixel pushers. What you say? Maybe a kid or someone who is really a beginner who only knows how to, I don't know, maybe use Figma or Photoshop, Illustrator, or those software, and they only receive orders from, I don't know, his boss, and make it bigger, make it pop, make it, and you just you increase the size, decrease the size, move a few colors. Not people who don't do research, or they are not really interested in I'll do it. If you pay me, I'll do it. I don't care about the result. I don't care about the final user, the final product. Those are pixel pusher for me.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have another
they're-
term for them, which is executant.
Yeah,
So it's just you
Well,
receive
I'm not a
something and
designer
you
yet, but for me,
execute.
a pixel pusher is exactly what Kane described. And honestly, I do not want to judge anybody anytime. I mean, like, no time. But what's the purpose of making a job out of designing when the whole color psychology that you might have been applying to whatever palette that you have been using goes completely against what you try to achieve. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's cool that you want to design cool stuff. It's cool that you want to make people happy or create any other emotion. But if you don't even know what you're busy with, you're just getting an assignment, you don't even know what the purpose is behind it, and you're just following your own shit, then that's a pixel pusher for me. And then what's the point of doing it? Then do it as a hobby, because then you're actually really doing it to make yourself happy. So also, if you work in a company and the company says you do this and that and that, and as a pixel pusher, to me, you choose to like not be involved in the rest of the process, so you don't know what is the psychology that I need to keep in mind behind this design, whether it comes to colors, contrast, placement, and so on, then that's a pixel pusher for me. And then my question is, I don't actually even have a question with that. My point is actually just, it's going to be a matter of time. You're going to be burned out. You're not going to like what you do. You're just going to look out from 8 o'clock the moment you arrive in the office to get back home. Hey man, take a bullet, shoot yourself, and go to the next life, because how can that be enjoyable even? So we're not talking anymore about pixel pushers then, in my opinion. We're talking about people that are doing band work. So that might be a very extreme way of thinking, but I believe that a lot of people made decisions to make career switches, or even before making a career switch, immediately having it right from the first moment, because they found a purpose in what they wanted to do. So I don't know if I see it wrong. I don't know if my perspective of not being a designer coming into the design world might be disillusioned, but that's what a pixel pusher means to me. I believe somebody that does what the company asks them to do, but still is involved in the whole meaning of, this is why, that's what we want to create. Can you help us with that? That person is not a pixel pusher. That is probably an animation artist or expert, or a UI expert. That's not a pixel pusher to me.
Yeah, a few years ago when I was beginning, I wanted to raise my prices, but I thought, how I am going to do that if a guy on Fiverr does the same for $5? How do I compete with that? And then, fortunately, I started to think that we achieve different goals and different results. So if someone comes to me and, hey, I need this logo with a flower green or whatever, I will be like, okay, if you want a job like this, maybe you should try finding someone on Fiverr or those platforms where you can connect with people who maybe uses pre-made assets to develop a new brand or assets. Excuse me.
Yeah. So I have things on all that. I know Samuel wanted to say something.
Well, I was going to say that what we call pixel pusher could be called like computer graphics technicians, people that are literally they're knowledgeable about like the software and how to get a result, but not necessarily how to think creatively and the techniques to find the proper solutions. So like I think there's in a level there's need for those people too, whether it's at a printer shop or like even bigger marketing companies that need like 100 pictures retouched in the same way, but it can't be automated. It has to be manually done. At some point, you need someone who does this work. And like, yeah, you can pay someone who can actually think and develop good ideas to do that, or you can hire someone who's less qualified in the creative aspect of their career, but still technically good with the software to do all that stuff. So like, and for that person, like I've been there, I've done that for companies, and at some point, if it's something you actually like I like doing photo retouching. And even if it's linear and like not very creative, at some point you get into like a meditation kind of state, and then you can just push on other ideas, and you develop different parts of your creativity while doing brainless work. So like a full-time job is really hard on the mind, but I think there's still place for that.
For example,
I
what I
think
did
that's-
I might have
yesterday.
had the wrong idea of a pixel pusher, and I think it's also
Yeah.
important to put that out there, because if I made a mistake there, then it's very important that anybody understands whenever experienced designers are talking about a pixel pusher, it's probably not the same as, for example, and a very good example, what I was just describing. But I do believe it's a very easy connection to make for somebody who is not a designer as a definition for a pixel pusher, just because of the connotation that word brings with it, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
as I
it
hear you speak,
sounds
Al,
differently.
a pixel pusher is actually somebody who is not only useful, but even kind of important within the whole process.
It depends on the
And
company,
that
but
needs
yeah,
to
it's
be
someone that is
acknowledged then as
needed.
well.
Someone that is needed for sure. That's something. The example that I wanted to give is the stream yesterday. My entire stream was cleaning up a Figma file from another streamer, and my job there was pixel pushing, basically. And as you, if you were there, you see my face. You see that I enjoyed cleaning the file and making sure that everything is auto layouted properly and have the right padding and everything. And it's not something that, like, I didn't have direction on what I needed to do, but I knew I needed to clean up the file. And my goal was to have a cleanup file at the end. And I was just cleaning the file, which is not very creative, not very, for me, at my point, not a lot of thinking. It's just automated behavior for now. So, like Samuel said, if you have photo retouching, retouching, French to cover, retouching photos on a series with the same like settings and how the photos needs to look in the end, then you're doing the same thing maybe 50 times, but because you enjoy it and you know how to do things, then it's a pretty good service that you are giving to the person that is kind of asking you to do the thing. But
as you explain it now,
For-
the name pixel pusher doesn't sound correct. And as you explain it
It
now, if
depends.
that's something that somebody needs to be doing in a company, that seems to be like the typical undervalued role that is actually the one with the most value, because it's the cleaner, the one who dots the I's and crosses the T's, makes everything on point, the one that does. You get where I'm getting at.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
so
I
it
think
depends.
In my opinion, then a very demeaning term. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I feel like that's, according to my definition, what you did with the cleanup file, according to my definition, is not a pixel pusher. So, because I personally, that's my job right now as well at my product team. So, for me, it's just organizing the whole design system because it's so messed up. But for a file to be organized is so important for fast work. So technically, we are helping the team build better products, because if it's unorganized, there's no way there's consistency in the design.
Efficiency.
Yeah, you have to have a clear, neat file. And pixel pusher, I think it would be a pixel pusher when there was somebody else on the other side of the screen telling you that, hey, now move this button over there, and then, or change the color to this. With my definition, that would be a pixel pusher. But I think you were making the decision on how am I supposed to clean the file, how am I supposed to organize it. You were making that decision. So that's not a pixel pusher in my definition.
So if you don't have
I think pixel pusher
supervision,
as a term needs to go. Or you're
yes,
an organizer and a cleaner and you help your team be efficient,
it-
or
yeah.
you help your team to focus on the creative stuff and you take the ungrateful away from the spotlight job. But all of these roles are important. Pixel
Yeah.
pusher sounds to a person that is not a designer, and yes, I can say this because I'm not a designer yet, but watch out, I'm going to become one. It sounds demeaning. Pixel pusher has a connotation of something negative. It's like, yes, I come in at 8 o'clock, I'll move some pixels, I'll put some red here, I'll put some 2F, 2F, 2F there, then I will do the placement that you asked me. Yes, I will apply that auto layout. Now I go home, I eat my spinach, and I start gaming or whatever. That's a pixel pusher to me.
I
That's how
don't
it
know
sounds.
if I am fully agree with that. I think it's quite the difference between the seniority, trainee, junior, semi-senior, and senior. Like the senior and semi-senior are like the minds, and the junior and trainee are the ones who push the pixels actually.
That's also not right? I mean, if I have worked in a company where I was treated as a pixel pusher being in the sense that I was told exactly what needs to get done. So, and then I joined another company where I was not told, like I used to do what I was told at the end, but I was given the opportunity to come to that conclusion myself. So again, that's the difference, right? Like Pixel Pusher is telling you that you have no choice, you're supposed to do this. And the other option is giving the junior the opportunity to figure it out on their own. And if they're not able to figure out, you guide them, but you don't tell them what to do. I think nobody should be told what needs to get done. People need to be guided and help, but not really told.
So
Maybe
that
later.
Yeah, so that falls
Later.
back on management and not
Yeah.
really the person who is like managed. It's different of management in people and in companies. So some people prefer to give vague advice on direction and so guidance on how to do things. That's something that I'm doing most of the time. And then other people like to give extremely precise and specific guidance on you need to move this to 24 pixel to the right, and then it's a difference on management. So if I understand correctly, on your side, a pixel pusher is someone who has a supervisor that is giving her or him the entirety of the process that needs to be done to achieve the goal, and someone who is not a pixel pusher, even though it's doing the same thing, is someone who is autonomous in what they do, right? Okay, so
So, like, I think I just have like one example. I won't involve anyone in this example because it's a very weird example. So there's Tanya 1 and there's Tanya 2. And Tanya 1 has no hands and Tanya 2 has no brains. So basically Tanya 1, the no hand Tanya is just using the other one just for their hands. Like, I will tell you exactly what needs to get done. You're not supposed to think, you're not supposed to say, you're just supposed to use your hands. That's a pixel pusher for me.
yeah, so,
A
so
voice to
That's a
mouse
very
interface.
awesome allegory to make.
So yeah, supervision, supervision, and autonomy.
Yeah, but the visual speech it spoke, I understood what she
Yeah.
meant. Like, just make it plain and simple by visualizing, and sometimes that gets the message over. And I think what comes clear out of this is that apparently there is not such a thing as a common or universal definition for a pixel pusher yet. Could that be correct to conclude? As
Yeah, that's what
there
Skeet
seems to be
said
many
in the chat
deviations
earlier.
from
That's exactly the word. They said crazy that there are so many pixel push definitions, and that is true. It really I think, and that's personal, but I think the definition that you have for yourself of the word or the exercise of pixel pushing is defined on your personal experience. So, for example, Tanya had the experience of being told exactly what to do and not understanding, not liking it, and that was associated with pixel pushing. I used to do what I called meaningless work, as in cleaning up a file, for example, and I call that pixel pushing. And so someone else can come into the discussion and give another example that they define as a pixel pushing exercise. I think the definition of the word, as always, for the definition of every main created word in the past 5 years is defined by the person who use the word. So you have a specific definition for yourself. But mostly we have an understanding or an agreement of most of the pixel pushing thing is something that don't really require a lot of brain power. Either because, how can I frame that? Either because you have the knowledge to do the thing mindlessly, and so that's pixel pushing, but at a high level, or you don't yet have the brain power to do the thing, and you need guidance or structure to do the thing that you are asked to do. So both work. Some people will like having a lot of guidance, some people will not, some people will prefer to be told you need to have this by the end of the week, and then get lost, do your thing, and then I come back at the end of the week and we see what you did. Some other people will prefer to be having the manager next to them for the whole week and say, what should I do now? What is the best way of doing the thing? And so it really depends on the person. So someone who wants to be left alone and like come with their own solution is someone who likes to think and might not be great as a mindless designer, and someone who is needing the guidance constantly might be mindless at the time, but might try to understand as much as possible in the beginning, and so they need guidance constantly to be able to then, the next week, not need the guidance that they used to have. So that's also a thing that depends on the mindset of the person and what they want to achieve next. And so that's a difficult thing, but yeah, so on all the front, the management or manager define your experience with the pixel pushing thing, the mindless ability that you need to do, and your personal like mindset on how you go for it. Yeah, define where you want to go. So someone who just don't care about it might be good with it, and someone who cared about it might not be good for mindless work. Brain did some weird shit, so if it's not making sense, tell me.
I mean, I am hearing you also, but I just feel like somebody who needs guidance or just needs an immediate command and just wants to execute, to me seems like just a UI designer, not a pixel pusher. It's just a person who makes a conscious decision to say, I want to be left out the process, but tell me what to do. I will be very good in getting instructions and translating them into design. But I guess, again, like pixel pusher doesn't really have a universal definition and might even say much more about ourselves, how we fill that in, as it might say something about what a pixel pusher is. Because if a pixel pusher is supposed to be somebody that indeed just takes instructions and translates it in design, hey, I would be happy to do it for the next 5 years. Let me be a pixel pusher. I think you can learn a lot, like KDJ said in the chat as well.
Yeah, I'm trying
And
to
I
catch
think
up
it's
because
maybe
there's a
even the
ton of
best way
shit
to
going on.
start a job. I mean,
Yeah, it's like Tuesday assignment are like pixel pusher assignments where we copy a shot from the dribble, and we learn a lot of that from that.
Hey, by the way, guys, if we're talking about ethics, let's throw it immediately the other side. I think this is very interesting. Could you please answer this? Hey, you're inviting me to this chat. I'm gonna be active. So, jobs, interviews. Now let's come to the ethics of challenges for designers. What about that? I'm not a designer, and I think it's a very big, and let me use a kind phrasing or wording, bullschlager, because it's companies asking 90 people that come solicitate for the same job for a free solution, only choosing one person to stay with them. Okay, I am really thinking about it very black and white, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna still stick with it. That's just a company saying I'm gonna pay only one person to stay with us and 89 other people to give us possible solutions which we can profit from without having to pay them and having a legible reason to show them the door afterwards. How about that?
So, yeah, I mean, even I used to feel something very similar about this, that it was not the right thing to do. But okay, so I am sort of in favor of this thing because of two reasons. One reason, that I got my job because of this. So when I started, I had no portfolio. I was very new. I had no idea about what was happening, and I honestly didn't even know how to build a portfolio. And I did not come from a design school. I had just completed my graduation in computer, so I know coding, but I wasn't sure what to do in UI UX. So I just applied to this place that, hi, I saw your website, and I wasn't even sure if they're hiring. So I just write an email to them, and they're like, sure, like, come down to the office. We'll give you an assignment. You spend a day with us, and we'll see how it goes. So they gave me an assignment. I did it. And I was very sure about how I'm not going to get the job because the CEO asked me questions and he gave me solutions which were much better. But thankfully, I got the job. So it helped me in a way that I did not have a portfolio. I had no idea. So because of that assignment, I was able to grab a job. So that's one thing. The other reason, I feel like there are two types of company. One company which give an assignment which is part of, maybe it's one of their clients or it's their own product company. So that's wrong, I feel, because eventually you're going to profit from it. But I feel like that there are other companies, maybe it's a healthcare sector, but the task they are giving you is maybe related to the music industry. So there's no way your solution can be used for them. It's just their way of trying to understand your design process. So that's just me.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's I've seen and I've done similar things. So my current company where I'm at, they wanted to ask me to do something, but I asked them before they asked me. So the situation was a bit weird. I was in the interview process, and at the end of the second physical meeting, I said, "Do you have something you're working on that you can't find a solution with that I can take a look at?" Which is something that throw them off because it's not something that the candidate are telling. But by just showing some interest in the product and ability to think on the spot, they get rid of the at-home assignment that they gave to all the others designers. So that's a tip for anyone who's trying a job. Maybe you can do that on your next interview. I don't know. It might work. But also, I agree with you with the fact that if a company is asking me to do at-home like assignment that is extremely related to their product, it's a fuck off for me. It's like, no way, I'm not doing that unless you pay me. If you pay me, then fine, but you need to pay me at my rate of freelancer, which is fucking high. So good job on that. I'm happy with it. But if it's very, very much like dissociated with the subject and I can't see a link, then yes, it makes sense for a company to ask how you think, how you will work in a time managed session of, let's say you have a week to do a thing or you have 8 hours to do something, and that way they have like an insight, a teeny tiny bit of insight of how do you work on like this specific product that have this specific issue, we know on our side, we know 5 different version of solutions. Which one would you take? Because that's the most common. Maybe you will find a 6th one that we haven't seen before, and that's an interesting thing. But most of the time, I'm against at-home assignments if they are related to the company I'm applying to.
So
feel like-
sorry, Samuel, go ahead.
I feel like that might be affected by the way local business works. Like hiring over here, whoever's hired, the way the law frames it, you're on probation for at least, I think, 6 months. So for 6 months, the company can fire you for no reason. And so like it sounds like a pre-probation, which is to me unethical, because of the way
Agreed.
law frames it
Yep.
here. But like if you're in a country where when you hire, you're obligated to respect whatever minimum amount of time before firing someone or something. I think in France there's like permanent contracts for jobs, so like maybe it's more rigid, so maybe it explains how like some places might go with that. I don't see how that could be possible here.
Yeah, so we
Okay,
have probation.
Samuel,
3
you as a
months probation.
freelancer, if you would outsource a project, if you are going to look for somebody, how would you, certainly with what you said now, try to find out whether somebody is skilled enough or suited for the project that you need help with and want to find some outsourcing personnel for? How would you set it up?
I think the risk
Well,
should be on
if
the
I had to look,
company side.
if I had to look like outside of the circles of people that I know that could help me, like that I know that I can trust, I guess it would be within the interview. And like when a new client comes to me and I have to sell what I'm doing, they would have to sell, like, I have an opportunity for me to buy your time or buy your skills or buy your talent. You need to explain to me how you're talented. Show me track record, show me your portfolio or your train of thoughts, the way you see things. I would reveal part of the project and he would probably reveal like his way, his approach, his process. When I explain to a client how I would make their new logo, I explain the whole process. I go from A to Z, exactly what they could expect if they hire us. So then we can understand that within a contractual agreement, you know what to expect, and you've been proven the person can do it. So like within that, and also if it's hiring like employees, where you have the opportunity of stopping the agreement whenever, if it really doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not really agree because I feel like it is like it's kind of companies are taking a profit on people's needs, so they have, like Khalil said, 100 of people applying to a job, and okay, they are making 99% lose their times because they are going to hire only one, and they really need the job. What do we do with the other 99 people who spend their time with our problem? That risk should be on the company side. If you hire someone who doesn't fit the job, okay, you lose maybe a week, a month, but you only, how do you say that?
And generally, it's as much of a misfit for the company as for the employee.
Yeah.
Like if the employee
It's like
can't
a
do
little
it
more
either.
context to chat as well. Like I've only heard from it, but from designers I trust, that the design challenges can be given by the place where you go for a job interview, within terms like you get 24 hours to 4 work days to accomplish it. Like that already in itself says so much to me, because to me that seems like a company is really giving a job to somebody that they have the opportunity to say, do it for us, but we're not going to hire you. And yes, it is that complex that it might take 4 or 5 days. We know it. So take that time, do it for us, and we'll decide. So
Yeah,
just to
it's
give
like
you context, that's why I think this is a very important question, certainly in regards of ethics.
it's like we are paying you with exposure. I don't need exposure, I need money.
So, I feel like right now my opinions could be really biased because I am in love with my agency right now because I feel like I'm learning a lot. So, but
That's great.
yeah, I'm truly happy at the place I'm working, love my work, which is why my ideas can be biased. But what we do is that we have divided into two categories. For us, one is like freshers who have come from different backgrounds or who are just switching to design. So we give them the task, the UI UX task and assignment. And for designers who are already experienced or who have a big portfolio to present, we don't give them a task because we know, like, we can see it, and we make sure that we never give a deadline. For us is that this is the task, and whenever, like, even if you come back after a month, we are okay with it, and whenever you're ready. So basically, and we don't even have that thing that we need these wireframes or we need at least 5 UI screens. For us is whatever you're comfortable with, you can present to us. And it matters more the soft skills, especially if it's a fresher. And we only care about if the person is excited to learn. Because as a UX designer, one thing I've understood is that you can't really judge somebody's knowledge. You can only judge if they're willing to learn. Because when I joined, I had no idea about fintech, and suddenly I'm given a fintech product. And then maybe 4 years later, I'll be given a healthcare product. So I can't know everything, but if I'm willing to learn, I can become a good UX designer. So we only check that the project was given to you, how did you approach it, and are you willing to take the feedback we give you, and are you willing to learn more? So the learning bit is the most important.
It's proving that you have the ability to evolve in the next year, like, or months, or X amount. Like, are you sure you want to be with us? Because we know you don't have the skills today, but we know we have the ability to give you the skills to be
Yeah.
at the level of everyone else. And we also know that by giving you the skills, you might go away. So we are trying, I mean, the main thing is we need to keep you in our rank, because we know how we train you, and so we train you for our company. But if we know from the interview that you will have a hard time learning the way that we work, then we might not go with you. I mean, it makes sense in a hiring process perspective. It's just not a lot of companies are understanding that people can learn, or people want to learn. And I think that's because the previous generation, yes, was like most likely set in their skills and didn't want to learn more things. And a lot of like companies' culture are still biased to the newest generation that is eager to learn more things every day, all the time. And so I believe this check of making sure that you are eager to learn, you shouldn't really apply to a specific range of ages. Weirdly enough, I know some of them will, of course, don't want to learn, but I don't know. I have a feeling that some latest generation of human, the latest upgrades, are pretty much willing to learn everything that they can learn in order to just do things and try things. So that's different stuff.
Okay, I
Because
got another ethical question.
Go
So
ahead.
how about this one? Your geographical location determines your wage while all doing the same job. Let me give a more explicit example to really illustrate my question. I have been talking with a lot of Indian people, of course, because of the Slack community that I'm in. And like most of all of us, they are very chill and kind people, actually more sometimes. Anyways, it is... Okay, let me find a word that is suited for my reaction, and I will never find one, so I'm gonna say it is just boop boop, boop boop, boop boop, how they get 10 times less paid for doing the same job. Now, to me, that sounds disgusting, but we all know this is ethically wrong, so there is no question in there. My question, however, is ethically, how can we all help to change it? Because companies in, for example, countries like India, Morocco, for example, as well, like in a lot of African countries in general, also, in my opinion, enable this system by offering their designers to international companies with their seats in the USA or in Germany or so on. And then how, as designers, can we change that?
So it's a
so
pretty
yeah.
simple thing. Tanya, go ahead.
No, like I'm still trying to understand the question. So geographical location. So if I am I am in India and my employer is paying me the rates according to India, right? I mean, so it's all right? Like I am not sure if I get your question. That I mean, the amount that they're paying me. I can't hear you.
Khalil.
I can't hear. Yeah, okay. It's not just me, right?
Yeah, I made just an uneducated move again. I was muted talking. So, um, anyway, sorry. I was saying, like, you as a UX UI designer in India are still going to have a beautiful job in India. But why should you be satisfied with having that beautiful job in India when you know that, for example, the company in Germany that you work for is paying their own employees in Germany, I mean, because you're also an employee in this example, but is paying their German employees 50 to 70% more in wage, right? So I think that's kind of my question. We all know it's ethically wrong. I think that's not even a question again, but how could we change this?
All
Because
right. So
if
both.
you chose to do this job in advance, already, of course, knowing about the whole economical, geographical situation, you made a conscious decision. I cheer you on and only hope that they see your word soon enough to see, fuck this system, we're gonna not pay her by Indian pay wages, we're gonna pay her by our company standard. But if it is design agencies in countries like Morocco, Tunisia, India, like a lot of Asian, a lot of African, a lot of South American countries, let's just make it a little bit more clear and exemplary, then I think these design agencies are kind of making a mistake. But how can we change that? Because as I see it, this system is bound to continue as long as nothing is being done about it.
Yes. So this is a loaded subject on the terms of salary and pay and
I've got
different
time.
things. The reasoning behind it and why it will always continue unless we all collectively worldwide decide to assign like a minimum wage worldwide, which is equal in every countries, is because of capitalism. That's the thing that we will all say. It's because one company's goal is to make a profit while spending the least amount, and while spending the least amount, that means that the profit is higher. So outsourcing to countries that have a lower valued currency means that they can have, for example, yes, they can have someone paid higher than the regional, yeah, country usual regional country rates, like a bit higher. Let's say I'm French. I'm paid $1,000 a month, and the equivalent in for Kane would be, I don't know, $400 a month. And I am a company, and I'm going to Kane and I'm saying, you know what? I think I can pay you $600 a month. For Kane, in their currency, they're like, damn, that's good. And so they take the job. But they don't really know that a regular designer or employee in the company in a different country is paid 1,000. And so the way we can get rid of this is by educating as much as possible, which is a difficult thing, but it's feasible, and a lot of people don't want that. But if you have education on like financial education and like all of these things, people around the world will understand how they are exploited most of the time, and taking advantage of salary-wise. But if you take a look at as I said, if I offer them 600 where they would generally be paid 400, it's beneficial for them, so they will take the job. And so they wouldn't say, I mean, as Kane said earlier, because they need the job, they wouldn't say something like, but you're paying your own employee 1,000, pay me 1,000 then. It doesn't work. Like if they say that, someone else just next to them will say, I take 600. And so that's how capitalism is working.
That also has to do with cost of living. You know how like a pound of beef is not the same price everywhere. So like it's not only the variation in currency exchange rates, it's also just the cost of living. Like I studied graphic design in a school in a metropole in a big city, and then I moved in a very rural tiny town where like 15,000 people, and over here my rates are, yeah, they're lower than in the big city, but like your cost of living is lower. You know, the housing issues that we have in our country right now is not as big in the rural areas. There's no traffic, there's no the costs of most everyday things are a little lower, and so the rates are within the same country are varying, you know, just based on that. And that probably makes more moral sense.
Yeah,
I
it makes
remember
all
TikTok
logical sense
about
to
that.
me, everything that you're saying, but it still doesn't sound just to me. Like for me, I translate it to what I know. And for example, if you are a breakdancer in the same competition, whether you're from Belgium or whether you're from Ukraine, the prize money is the same. And we're all going to be happy for whomever wins it, whether it's the Ukraine who can live 6 months from it, or the Belgian who probably drinks it up in one evening in a bar. The prize money stays the same, plain and simple. So I
Yes,
get
but the
everything that you're
location
saying,
of
and
the
it all sounds logical, but it doesn't sound just.
but your dance contest is in one specific location, right? So like the contest happens in
It doesn't matter if it's in the
Belgium.
USA or whether it's in Belgium, the prize money is always
It
2,000 euros.
Yes, but it will happen. It will actually have an impact. It will have an impact because of how it's diffused, or how many people can show up, how wealthy the local people are, and how
Not,
expensively you can sell the tickets
but
to the
actually it doesn't.
actual
I'm an
contest.
organizer myself already since '98, and our championship is one part of 7 world championships in the world. All of us have agreed on the same prize money.
Okay,
So
so it's
all
like
of
a
our
league.
first prizes are 7,000 euros for the crew, 2,000 euros, or in regards dollars, depending on where you are, for the soloists, and so on and so on. And the Ukrainian is going to probably live like 6 months to 8 months from it, as where a Belgian probably is going to be able to live like about a month, maybe 2 months from it, to make an example. But because for us, the most important part is the fact you get paid the same for doing the same, even if you have more from it geographically. Let me quickly translate this to design as well. I don't care about the money. Even though I know if I come in at some point somewhere as the on an entry level, it's still gonna be a big pay. I don't fucking care, because what's important to me is the remote part. I want to travel again. But luckily and fortunately for me, wherever I want to live, the sun shines every day. I'm gonna feel sand between my toes. And those kind of countries, most of the times, are the countries where economically it's very interesting to live, certainly on a salary of a UX UI designer. But still, when I go live in the Philippines, and I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna be living like a king there with what I get just because I'm written in Belgium as an employer, as an employee. However, my Moroccan friend, working for the same company, living in the Philippines, in my place, will still feel the impact on his wage double as much as I do, just because he's paid by the Moroccan standards. Now, he's my colleague, he's probably even better and more talented than me, and he gets paid less. So I feel like I get all the logics of everything that you say, because it's just the truth. Demographics, where you live, cost of living, and so on. It's just things we can't escape. But it doesn't take away that it's still not a just thing. And it begs to open the question, should certain job sectors, let's generalize and make it easy, that are offering remote opportunities, start to make their own standard in payments, not based on your geographical position, but based on the sector's content and what you're doing as a job?
So it really depends. It's difficult. There is a lot of things that can be like unfeasible for a company that is based in a specific location to apply the same laws in a different country that doesn't have the same laws. That's one first thing. Then, as Samuel said, the cost of living is very different inside of a country, and so from a big city to suburbs or a countryside version of the same country, you have a very much different way of living. So if you are employed in a big city, but you like work remote in a countryside, it's kind of like you with your Belgian salary living in Thailand or Bali or anywhere else. It's like not exactly, because the cost is way different, but you get the idea. It's like you have the difference in cost of living. So, for example, buying food, and what I was about to say, buying a steak is easier in the countryside because you have the farm like next to you, and so the distance and all the things that will go to the big city is not taken into consideration in the price. And maybe you are friend with the farmer, and then you get free cheese every month because they are your neighbors, or they have too much of something, and so you can get by with less in a less demanding environment. In a city, you have a lot more things to pay for, and a lot more things to take into consideration, and so your same salary may give you more or less time of living. Let's go back to this. In terms of from a country to a country, your breakdancing example is a good example of something that couldn't work if it wasn't started in Belgium. If it had started in Ukraine, for example, and the price was in Ukrainian, is it ruble? I think it's ruble. Then the equivalent in euro would be so low that they wouldn't exist. Like it wouldn't be a thing. But because you have the backing of the start in a country that is with a currency and a cost of living that is higher, the minimum that they can afford to give, in a way, is the minimum for the maximum earners. So that's a bit of a weird way of thinking about it, but like, because you can live for, like, let's say a month with X amount, in this country, this is the minimum we can give out as a price. It doesn't equate? It's not equal to the same thing in every country in which the price, the competition is taking place. But if you had created the maximum price based on Ukraine, the competition wouldn't even go out of Ukraine. Because, like, let's say something that give a month of living for the breakdancers in Ukraine might be equivalent to a week for you in Belgium. And so what's the point to have like a competition and win this certain amount, which will just give you enough to, I don't know, buy milk next week? That's a different thing.
I get it though, and I'm following you, and I'm understanding better now. But then there is also, for example, the subject how, sorry for complicating it more, but I think it's just an interesting topic, how, for example, in Western European countries, UX UI designers get a study budget, as where there are countries where UX UI designers don't get any study budget at all, while in its original intentions, it's actually the company that thrives most with offering such a study budget, because they just bring it in as costs, which allows them to have more profit. And in the same time, they get their employees to evolve into even better workforces for them. So feel me? There are
It makes
these
sense, but
fundamental differences that are not necessarily bound to cost living. It seems to me, but I'm very cautiously saying it seems to me because I don't really know, but are still very big and fundamental differences.
they bring them as expenses, but to be able to bring them as expenses, they need to have the revenue for it. Like your competition, everyone gets the same price, but what's the revenue of your competition? Like, could the competition happen somewhere where the revenue would be affected by the location? If not, like if you're a Spotify where you can sell the same product everywhere on the world for exactly the same price, then yes, I agree, you should pay anyone who works on it from anywhere exactly the same price. But if you're Spotify, but you realize that you can't sell your regular service at your regular rate in specific countries because the revenue or the average cost of living is so low that it seems like it costs a week of rent to pay for Spotify. It wouldn't make sense. So you have to convert it to local cost of living because you cannot sell it. So you couldn't explain to hire someone from over there at a rate so high where you cannot sell your product at that place for the same price.
I
So
feel you there,
like
Sam, but how about that Spotify example? They are still an international company with
yeah.
the same original source of economy. So it's them deciding whether they divide enough to their daughter companies or not, no matter the geographical differences between cost living. That's
Yeah,
how
well,
I
it depends. It depends. Yes, it definitely depends on like whether you should think that, say you have a something a little more local, like a restaurant chains. If you think that the chains in big cities should make more money than the chains in rural locations because the revenues are a little lower there and
I did
their
love your
clientele is
comment,
smaller, then you'll pay
because
your.
that's what I was talking about, like local restaurant chains. Of course, I get it, man. I'm immediately with you. They have to look at different things, and I think their employers will get it, their employees. but I'm really talking at the level of a Spotify or a Netflix or so. So I love that you use that example, because that's the companies that I'm addressing really, or talking
Yeah,
about.
well, something like Spotify, it'll be really just you have to explain why some branches, some location, the revenue versus the cost, or the rates are different. You know, because you pay them as much as you would pay them elsewhere, but your revenue are not the same. So I think that's the main explanation for that.
Yeah, I agree there. It's very like example. Ski give an example of Netflix being $15 a month in the US and 200 rupees in India. Twitch is the same thing. For example, a subscription in India is cheaper-ish than a subscription in France, which is cheaper than a subscription in the US in terms of the number that is allocated to the currency. So I think it's like $4.99 in the US, and in France it's like $3.99, but it's in euros. So the conversion means that in reality I'm paying something that is closer to $5.50 ish in dollars, but visually what I'm feeling like I'm paying is lower. And so for Spotify or Netflix or anything, you need to adapt to the country that you're in. So Samuel had a very good example. If in terms of how I pay my employee, me as Spotify, it's my new proclaimed title. I am Spotify. I am paying my employee in the US X amount. I am paying my employee in Ukraine the same amount. That's fine for the employees, but if I'm paying this amount everywhere, I expect my service to be the same price everywhere, because I need to like balance my expenses and profit in order to be profitable. That's business, or at the very least even. And so if it's not the case, if I'm paying my employee in Ukraine at the same rate as the US, but what an Ukrainian that is not working at Spotify can afford is like way under what an employee in the US can afford, then they can't afford a Spotify subscription. So you need to readjust the Spotify subscription, meaning that the cost of living, I don't want to create kings in the Ukraine. I want to keep, and that's the capitalistic person in me that's talking. I want to keep the cost of living and the ability of living of the Ukrainian people at the same level, so they don't take over the business. That's another thing. That's the capitalist that's taking over. So you don't want to have a lot of people that can, for example, pay different things. Let's say another example that I have in mind. There has been a story about a guy in the US that was paid so well that he was outsourcing his entire work to the Philippines, I think. And he was just in his contract he said full remote, and that's what I do. And so he just was paid, I don't know how much, but he took something like 10% of his entire salary and outsourced everything to the Philippines, and the Filipinian people were doing his job for him. And he did nothing for the whole 5 years until he got busted. But he took that for 5 years because the cost of living is way smaller in the Philippines. If the company understood that, they would have hired the Philippine people, maybe at a higher range than what the guy was paying them, and they would have been better. But that's not what happened. So like the cost of living in places and the way that the economy is working in a specific country cannot be disrupted by just one company wanting to pay all of their employees the same rate. So that's capitalism. In something that works for you,
I'm never gonna become a businessman.
in something that works for you, there is a company in the US, I forgot their name, but they decided to have a floor for prices, for salary. So in the US, you have like $15 an hour, $9 an hour. It's extremely cheap work, but they decided to have the minimum salary entry at 70K a year. And so since then, the company strives because, of course, someone who does something differently strive in the US market. But that's a way that kind of work in what you want to achieve. So they said any employee in our company is at $70,000 a year minimum. That's the entry level. And I think it's the same if they outsource someone, they use the 70K a year, but translated in the currency of the country that they are hired. So
It's an
like
awesome way of
equivalent.
thinking, though, working with a floor of wage
Yeah.
instead of a ceiling. That's really awesome.
But that's just one fucking company in the US.
I know. Hey, it all starts with one, right?
Yeah.
And doing something like that will also influence the company's hire practices. You know, they won't hire anyone for anything. They'll be serious about who they hire because they know the importance of the revenue impact they have to do in order to pay themselves. Because really, anyone who works, you know, they have to bring in more than what they cost. So
True.
it's
it
a smart
makes
move.
perfect sense. By the way, Aaron the Song dropped something in a chat that I think could be very interesting and relevant to anybody and everybody just interested about remote work, whether it's design or something else. I quickly found a quick link, and before I decided to drop it, I of course diagonally read it, and it's pretty much close to the facts. I read something about it on LinkedIn, but there are more and more digital nomad visas coming up. So yeah, read up on it if remote work, because of traveling, because of spatial freedom, is making you happy. Read up on it because more countries are opening up to it, probably because of the pandemic stimulating it. But that's a good thing. The positives out of the negatives. Hello, Hannah. Rup.
And yeah, Erin said also a thing about at some point you will need to raise your prices in as a freelancer, and that's something that a lot of devalued country, I don't like to call them that, but the country where the cost of living is way lower than the bigger country, and I don't understand why we have the difference, but yeah, and like someone with like a lower cost of living will not raise their prices like someone else in another type of country. I would say if you are used to earn $100 a day and then you want to upgrade your prices, then maybe you will go to 120, because the conversion from dollar to your currency seems like a lot, and the visual of the number is so great that you cannot think about going from 100 to 200. That's too much in your personal currency. Whereas for someone like me, if I'm thinking about an upgrade in price, I'm like, should I do a 2x or a 3x in the next product? And that's like the way I'm wired and the way I'm working. So because of the numbers, like a 3x on my numbers of 3,000, let's say, it's just 9,000, which is not a lot. But a 2x on $100 in ruble or rupees, why I don't know the conversion, and I go from $100 to $200, it's like from Tanya, do you know the conversion of $100 to Indian rupee? I don't know. Is it 20 or 30 behind
$1
it?
is like $1 is like 70 rupees or something.
Yeah. So 100 is like 70,000. Yeah.
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 Yes.
7,070?
70.
$1 is 70.
Okay.
So 7,000. 100 is 7,000.
Okay. So you go from 7,000 to 14,000. And so you can see how going from 3 to 9 or going from 7 to 14 is like, the numbers seems bigger, even though they are not like doing the same thing, but it's just impacts the way you think. So raising your prices, think in US if you want, if you need to. That's what I'm doing since the last like 3 years. I'm like, yeah, my prices are X amount in US dollar because that's like the universal currency, even though it's not. But like it's the one that everyone is understanding across the board. So if you are saying I'm paid X amount in US, and then they need to do the conversion in your personal currency, you talk their language and they understand the prices, and then you are just happier because it's just higher than what you expected. But think in US dollar, maybe that will help. And going back to the digital nomads visa, if you are in a developing country or like where the currency is weaker than the dollars, try to go remote and work for US companies at the US prices. Like
To
if you
give
want,
even more
money, if you are
specifics, if
money
you are in
driven.
Europe, go for Malta. If you
Yeah.
are in Asia, there are a few possibilities, but stay away from the ones who are wealthy. Like really, if your point is to have both the financial advantage as well as the remote options. And in South America, there is not much places either that you can go around, not even in Central America. So I think the best way to say it is like go from the hemisphere like south and you're good, and then there are a few places above it that you're still good, like Malta, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Greece. All countries in a economic recess, unfortunately, are interesting places for digital nomads.
I think
Yeah.
it is still unfair because they are valuable. They are. I am less valuable because of my location.
I
Place
think
yourself in a different country in your resume. That works. I mean, you just say you are living in, I don't know, you are applying on a company that is based in New York, you say you are in LA. Or depending on the time zone, like differences and where you are and the difference, like you just place yourself in the country if you are in the same time zone. And they can't check, first of all, and they won't check, and then you are paid in dollars.
And also another thing, I've been traveling for about 10 years in a European country, and Europe is pretty good at keeping track with each other, but they don't do it for the first 2 years. So the first tip, the first 2 years, don't worry. Second tip, if you are getting a monthly pay in from, let's say, around 3,000 euros, so that's kind of like $2,750, I guess, a month. Again, don't worry, there is not gonna ring any alarm bell with any society or government or whatever. And number three, make sure that you actually get paid locally, because before the paperwork locally has transferred to your home country, you're already probably in the next country. And anything I'm giving as a tip now, I've used, and it's all legal. And if it's legal, then use these tricks. However, it benefits you. I used it so I could travel as long as I could, as much as I could, and still use it for the benefit of growing. Like, shit, don't worry, society is gonna take us back. So take now from society what you can get. That's how
find
I
it
see.
hypocritical.
Sorry?
The way I'm sorry, I find it hypocritical the way you find that like you can abuse of going to a country where most people are poor to live like a king and then expect companies to pay exactly the same rate everywhere.
But there is a difference, Samuel. Do you know what I did for a living?
No. But
Okay, I was a
like it doesn't matter.
volunteer creating a nonprofit organizations, and all my money went back into the nonprofit. The only thing I did with the money I got is buy my food, and the rest was gone.
No, I mean that's great. I'm not giving you any intentions. It's not about that. I'm sorry. I don't take this personally. What I'm saying is that like if you think that a country is interesting to live in because cost of living is low, and you say take from the world what you can get, and people are willing to work for a lower rate because they live somewhere where cost of living is lower, then it's all ethical and fair play. It's not unethical if someone is fine with it. And if you can say that a person can abuse of whatever the opportunities of the world is because of local cost of living, then companies can as well. Like either you say everyone should abuse it or nobody should abuse it.
Yeah.
I think it's contrarian.
So, and I don't know if you saw it this way, what I just said, because that's how I actually kind of meant it. Like, let's say, for example, you have your own company, right? You're a freelancer together with your partner. Of course, you're going to do this in your country because probably you saw your future there financially, at least, economically, by stability. And of course, you're going to let everything come in there. And of course, in return, pay taxes there as well, right?
Yeah. Well,
However-
I mean,
Yeah, sorry.
let's assume it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay. It's just for the purposes of the example. So, however, if you would want to have a company again, but you would like to be at some point remote, right? Again, the other example, I would suggest you could go. Let's say if for you the most important thing about the whole remote thing is sun, sea, and surf, to go to South America and maybe take a place like Brazil or Argentina. At that point, in my opinion, and absolutely this is an ethical topic, you are not making abuse of the local system and therefore actually enriching yourself on the expense of the local people because it's still all governmental. And when it's governmental, that's how I see it at least, there are very few governments that are really servicing their own people. Now, again, this is a very black and white take, which I don't like to express myself in, but otherwise we're gone for the next few hours. But do you get the gist of what I'm saying? When it comes to local people, when it comes to colleagues, when it comes to the more intimate or personal level, I can get pretty fired up about it. However, when it's on a federal level, no matter the country, I don't give 2 cents. Because I haven't come across in about 10, 12 years a country with a federal level that is really not abusing their own politics just to do still more in percentage of what they want than what the people want. I still know more of countries that ask taxes but don't give back in return to the people paying those taxes. Whether we're talking about Western European countries or South American countries, African countries. So yes, absolutely. I'm going to say to people, if you want to work remote, shit, if you want to work in your own country, find the loopholes in your own government. Because don't worry, they will find a way to still make you pay whatever it is that they feel like you have to pay. At least now you control a little bit of what you get back from it. So if you transfer that to like when you're going remote, then in my opinion, you're kind of doing it to your own country in a different country because all these governments are in some level, in some degree, the same. It's very black and white, I know. So I want to make that clear that I do not want to sound as extreme as I sound now, but there is certainly a level of truth to it. I've seen it in Spain and Italy. If you ask Italian people or Spanish people, they just think their government is corrupt. And then in places like Sweden or me in Belgium, we say like, hey, we have great and beautiful countries to live in practically, like medical support and this and that. But when push comes to shove, all the paperwork we have to push before we even get our support, it's 1 year later, we have already worked ourselves in debt. So the politics are still able to abuse it. So in the end, they still win with it. Feel me?
Yeah.
It's
So
like the
Kind of my, I think, yes, my
Yeah.
my concept of thinking there.
I don't need sex. Government fucks me every day.
yeah, that's the kind of thing. I mean, in your views, and if I tell me if I understand correctly, you would be paid in euro and go to a country that is in a weaker currency in order to live a better type of life compared to Europe. And what I would say is the opposite is what I encourage everyone to do, which is someone with a weaker currency country apply for jobs in a stronger currency type of country to live the same kind of life
Honestly,
than you
yeah,
in their
absolutely. I
country.
dare to say that just plain out. If I can find a job remote, first and foremost, for me, the most important is to find a job in which I find purpose. That still is going to stay the most important because I'm going to tell you honestly in advance, I'm not going to be able to keep up with the job otherwise. So once I found it, then the second most important thing for me, and the second only most important thing, is like, do they offer the remote option? After that, I'm willing to compromise a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
to be get paid at a Belgian standard level? Yes, I'm still going to be living in the Philippines. I do not want to abuse the Philippine system while making Belgian standard money, but Belgium just unfortunately doesn't have any waves to surf. And yes, let me be fair and honest about that as well. If I pay at this moment 700 euros for an apartment, that is not even worth 300 euros. So yes, if I can
Yeah.
live in the Philippines with the same money, but need less of it, I'm gonna do it. After that, it becomes personal. Some people would do it to enrich themselves. If they would, I'm sorry, I am not gonna judge them. I can only be happy with the person I am, and I wouldn't enrich myself with it. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna donate it all away. I'm not a saint. But I would find other purposes for it. I'm not made for the Ferrari or whatever materialistic stuff. For me, it works very disabling, whatever. But my point is just, if my life quality can improve by using my European pay and living in another place, and that money is worth triple as where it comes from, I would advise anybody and everybody to do it. Just never forget that as humans, I believe, this is probably subjective and an opinion, we still have an altruistic side to answer to. In which level you do so, you choose yourself, but do it at least a little bit. That's all. But yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. Absolutely, I'm going to do it.
So yeah, the reverse is what I encourage everyone to do. Like Gain, for example, try to find clients in the US, in the UK, different countries that would pay you a different rate than someone inside of your country, but also place yourself there fakely, like as I said, by Sam.
I'm also going to spend my money in the Philippines,
Yeah.
right? And probably because of the way that I grew up and because of what I'm used to already the rest of the whole of my life so far, I'm gonna round it on top when I go do groceries, even not even in a bar. And not just to be the rich guy, but because money for me at a place like there is gonna have less meaning than it does in my own country. So that's my way of showing appreciation for being welcomed in the community there, right? But yeah, as I see it, it
Yeah.
still benefits the local economy where I choose to live.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it
also,
does.
they're gonna get much more from me because if I'm gonna live in the Philippines, man, all the locals are gonna be my friends, and probably the first 5 rounds are on me. So, whatever.
Yeah, but it's like you are the amount of impact that you will have. That's the usual thing. One wealthy people in a poor-ish country will not change the economy. It's not better or worse. It's the equivalent of having one tourist comes yearly. So it's a bit difficult. If you like invest in the country in itself, as in you decide to use your wealth compared to the place to create things for the community and the country and everything, then yes, you help the country economics. But it is difficult on a one person level to be able to achieve.
On that note, it absolutely is not. Trust me, I promise you. Whatever small money you have, whatever little time you have to invest in local movements, shit, whatever little time you have to help set up stuff from behind the scenes, because there's probably locals enough prepared to do all the practical and grunting stuff. Volunteering work, altruistic work, work that benefits and contributes to local scenes, really, people, it starts with the smallest of steps. Everything certainly in that sector or that segment is all going to be much more profitable, not in numbers, but in reality for people locally because of collaboration. So whatever you have to spare, people, take it from me. I am so sad I do not live in America for one reason, for example, if I come to think of it, which is, for example, the Samaritan app. Samaritan, if you haven't heard about it, is this app, long story short, you can buy, so to speak, a coffee for the homeless person in your city, village, country, or you can choose even to do it for the homeless person 5 states further. And in return, you could also get to be part of their story by whether it is getting to know about their story or not. My point is just, that's $2 you might have dropped, which a homeless person is going to have a lot on a Monday. But Samaritan is unfortunately not something that is available in a place like Europe. I haven't looked for the counterpart of it. Maybe it exists. If not, hey, let's create it.
Yeah,
Anyways,
we have it here. We have one in France.
See? But the point is just altruism, a little bit of help. It doesn't cost much. Not much time, not much money. It doesn't have to be money necessarily. You can achieve it so much faster than you think. Really, really, really. Check it out. Just start locally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. The help you can have, like the impact you can have on a small community is sure something. I think on a country level, I'm not sure that one person can eat. I mean, at our level of wealth, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not earning like enough to make an impact on an entire country. I wouldn't be able. I would be able to make an impact on a small community of a village of somewhere, like a small town in a specific country. Yes, probably, but I wouldn't be able to make an impact on the economy of a country. That's what I'm getting at. But I think that will be soon the end of the chat. I'm just laying it out right here. We've been live for 3 hours and 20 minutes talking about different topics. I think we'll just slowly go out of the subject. I appreciate everyone who joined, and Khalil, you have strong opinions, which is good for content. Thank you. Samuel, thank you for joining today. That's really good. Thank you for joining with the birds. I love the little blue one. How many do you have?
I saw 2.
Ah,
1 or 2?
just
Oh,
one.
Okay.
Very, very cute birds. What type of? I don't really know. Yeah. I can't hear you for some reason. Maybe it's on
Yeah,
my
you're
side.
muted. There
Aha.
you go.
It's a budgie. It's a parakeet.
It's cute.
In the beginning, it came on his shoulder and then just went over to the other side of the shoulder. It was awesome. We got cats, we got dogs, we got parakeets.
It's a pet-friendly stream.
Yeah, it's,
It's
a
a
very,
pet-friendly stream.
very nice
Exactly.
color as well.
Yeah.
Right. It seems.
I think
funny.
it's cool that we did this today because now everybody got to see Kane, the eternal lurker.
It's CK as well. It's been a
Yes,
while.
exactly. But CK, you know this, right, Samuel? You can see him also on Memorizely, for example. Now he's doing the Webflow Reels. Ah, you didn't know?
I don't know what. I don't
He's
know
a
what
recent,
Memorizely is.
he recently joined the Memorizely team, and he is doing the Webflow reels. Super fast type of reels, but in his own style. So that's awesome.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I think we will have us too. Someone, and maybe Aiden.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when he receive his 1080p webcam, if that arrive at some point one day. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, I think I will find someone to raid, and I appreciate each and every one of you joining as always. Thanks a lot. And
gonna remove
yeah, I will see
the
you all in
group.
chat if you
I
wanna.
think it's normal that A gets to have the whole visual to finish. Hey, thanks A for today. Awesome, really awesome. Bye everybody.
So yeah,
So yeah, I think that's the end of the stream. Pretty good overall session. I'm very happy with it. We had a lot of discussion about ethics and a lot of different subjects, which I think is pretty good. And yeah, Erin, thank you for chatting for the first time today. Appreciate it. Also, I don't want to butcher your name, but Denebaljedi? I'm sorry, but welcome on in. It's the end, but welcome. Appreciate it. We will raid Mutru today, which we worked on their file yesterday, and so they are a designer working on. They are the developer designer working on an OnlyFans competitor on the blockchain, which is pretty good. So yeah, the Ace Bar, which is the Fridays streams, is sometimes a type of podcast like this where you have open mic, everyone can join as long as you are part of the Discord. But yeah, so in that thing, join the Discord. That's what I was about to say. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Please follow the channel if you enjoy what you've seen today. I really appreciate it. We are very close to 600 followers, which I really like to have. And then yeah, follow the social media, everything like this. And yeah.
Denebaljedi is now following.
On that note, thank you for following. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, afternoon, lunch, whatever. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.